Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
God help Colorado, land of the free no more. Chains on the people, from the plains to the western shore. Leaders lost their way in a liberal haze. Time to rise up, set the Rockies ablaze. Colorado's bleeding, high crime on the streets. Denver's a war zone, can't walk without defeat. Immigrants pouring in, gangs like Trendy Agua run wild. Crimes unchecked, our safety defiled. Roads are crumbling, potholes everywhere. Taxes sky high, but they don't seem to care. Tables under siege, refunds disappearing fast. Liberal schemes stealing our cash at last. God help Colorado, we real leaders now. Tina Peters locked up a prison somehow for fighting the steel, standing tall and true. Polis sparring with Trump buddies, looking like a fool. High taxes crushing families on the brink. Crime waves crashing. What do you think? God help Colorado, break these chains we bear. American spirit will fight anywhere. Election integrity gone, dark money rules the game. Homeless camps brawling, drugs fuel the flame. Polarized politics, Green Deal sell us out, but hope's on the horizon, no doubt. God help Colorado, we need leaders now. Tina Peters locked up a prison somehow for fighting the steel, standing tall and true. Police barren with Trump buddies, looking like a fool. High taxes crushing families on the brink. Crime waves crashing. What do you think? God help Colorado, break these chains we bear. American spirit will fight anywhere. Trump don't make idle threats, they're all going down. Colorado rising, taking back the crown. God help Colorado, but we're fighting through. Red, white, and blue, forever true.
These was absentee voters. We obtained a list of people that they had sent ballots to, that the ballots returned but still voted. So that raised our suspicions. So what we did was we obtained this list, and what we found out is that it was no way people was voting absentee because they never sent ballots or applications to the overseas address for them to return it. They actually listed that they sent the actual ballots to the Detroit addresses versus the overseas address, but a ballot was still cast and they not. It's no way they cast a ballot for a person in Germany when they sent the ballot to the west side on 7 Mile. There's no way that person voted from Germany. And it's right here, you can see Mary Elaine Beckman. She was voting out of a house that was full of immigrants. They couldn't even speak no English when we went to the house. No lie. They couldn't even talk to us in English. They was all living in this house. They didn't know no Mary Elaine Beckman. Now, we do understand that you do not have to live at that residence when you move overseas. The current residents do not have to know you. We understand all that. But the law also say that that must be your last address when you moved overseas. That wasn't her last address, and you must get the ballot sent to you overseas. There's no way you can vote when the ballot came to you in Detroit.
Hey, so welcome back. It's actually Tuesday. We have a guest inside the studio. But what you just heard was a revelation from someone that was talking about the stolen election in Michigan in 2020. The same election fraud that's continued through 2022, 2024. See, this is not just a Colorado Dominion voting systems. This is across the board. This is a group of people that have stolen the voice of the American people. Now, you'd think that guy that was standing on that deal, you'd say, oh, he's a Republican. But he's not. And one of the things that I keep saying is that this is a story of the haves and the have-nots. It's a story between the good and evil. It's not a Republican or Democrat deal. Both parties have been left behind a long time ago. The reason why people became independent is because both parties are so toxic and have created such a terrible opportunity for anyone to be heard in any community that this is what you get. But I want you to keep in mind that they keep telling us over and over and over again that don't worry about it. We got it all taken care of. Sit down, slave. Sit down. So we're going to talk about a few things, and then I'm going to bring my guest on. We are done. You know, one of the reasons why I'm running for governor is because I can't even have a conversation with most politicians and say, hey, do me a favor. Tell me exactly what you represent. Tell me. And they'll go, we want to lower taxes. We want to do big education better. And I'm thinking to myself, tactically, what would you do? And they're good with dog whistles. Now, Scott Bottoms is one of the exceptions to this rule, but Barb Kirkmeyer, man, she gets out there and talks a whole lot in Colorado about the fact that, well, I built good roads in Weld County, and I was a state senator that reached across the aisle. I don't want to reach across the aisle. I want to reach across the street. I want to have conversations with our neighbors. I want to get to the place where we have conversations about what is hurting the people in our communities. Why are 20% of the parents out there running away from the school system? Because they're grooming our children. Well, our guest today is going to talk about that, but I want to talk a little bit about Coomer because the amount of gaslighting and the amount of lies that comes out of Coomer's attorneys. And as I walk through this path and figure out who am I going to sue first, well, I think they actually know. They have access to all the information related to Eric Coomer. They know he's a liar. But that doesn't stop them from continuing this charade and putting pressure and making me spend money and lying to the special master, lying to the judge. But I think that they already knew that. So Laura Logan put up a post. Let's put up her post real quick. I put up Laura Logan's post. It's attached to my post because I had something to say about it. No? Yes. There we go. So the video you just watched was the video that we're talking about. She said they cheated all over, but especially in the swing states. And so I responded by saying this. Go ahead and put up my response. I said, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made effing sure of it. Eric Coomer. It's time to end the charade and arrest them. Look, I'm as sick as anybody could be of what we're having to deal with right now. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of being told that Democrats are the moral authority when they're not. That Republicans somewhere along the line have the answer because they don't. Pam Bondi has betrayed the American people. She hasn't betrayed Democrats or Republicans and independents. She made it clear. She said, look, if we actually arrested everyone that was associated with the Epstein files, the system would collapse. Maybe it should. We're going to talk more about Eric Coomer later. And a guy named David Beller, that's one of Coomer's attorneys, filed a motion to strike and to stop the public from getting access to information about Eric Coomer being a raging liar. We're going to talk more about that because I think it's important for you to understand what Coomer's lawyers are doing. It has nothing to do with truth. It has to do with how can they suck every dollar they can with this lawfare from good people. They've attacked my family. They've attacked everyone around me. Now, our guest here today is Rich Guggenheim. Now, I first met Rich, it was like 4 years ago, the Gays Against Groomers. He was actually standing up for children. And him and I, we had this conversation, and it was awesome. See, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Constitution Party. If you're part of the Satan Party, I probably don't want to talk to you. But if you have ethics and morals, then, those are the people I want to talk to. So let me just tell you about what's now happened to him. He was a Colorado Department of Agriculture official who blew the whistle on the federal grant money being funneled into DEI schemes in clear violation of federal laws. He's on administrative leave, facing retaliation, and he's not mincing words about the one-party Democrat rule enabling ideological capture across the state agencies. He was the chapter lead for Gays Against Groomers and a candidate for CD6. He brings the receipts on how the progressive agendas are trumping competence, accountability, and taxpayer dollars, and why whistleblowers are left hanging with nowhere to turn. We've seen that happen. So with that said, Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's a lot, right?
It is a lot.
First of all, I want to say thank you. Because it's not the first time you've stood up. It's like the 5th or 6th or 8th time. This time, though, it cost you your job.
Yes, I'll say this, though. It didn't cost me my integrity.
Yeah.
A job can be replaced. Your integrity cannot. And at the end of the day, we have to have the moral turpitude in our state to stand up for what is right. And when I look at the type of corruption that we're seeing in Colorado, the difference between the corruption you see in places like Minnesota and the difference between what we're seeing in Colorado is in Minnesota, it's the people doing the corruption. In Colorado, it's the system that is corrupt. And it's the leaders that Polis has appointed who are in on it.
So let's talk about that for a minute. I asked you before we came on whether or not you knew the Christopher Gregory case, which is one of the largest corruption bribery cases that engulfs nearly 40, 50 people. Christopher Gregory worked for the judicial arm of accountability inside the judiciary. And the amount of corruption that he experienced or witnessed and he recorded makes Polis and Weiser and Griswold look like they're running a criminal enterprise. Is this the same experience that you have working inside of is it USAID?
No, it's the Colorado Department of Agriculture, CDA. Absolutely. And the fact that we're willing to take this money and we're going to tell the people who say, this is wrong, this is inappropriate, to literally shut up and then retaliate against those people the way I've been retaliated against. Let's make sure that people are aware of the fact that the retaliation against me and the way they went about doing that in such a public way was designed to create a chilling effect so that other people would be afraid to come forward. Because they want to keep those hundreds of millions of dollars, $250 million that we're getting in federal dollars to fund this crap. And if you speak out about it, you become the problem. It's not the corruption that's being exposed at the problem. It's the corruption, the exposer of it.
Oh, brother, that's just been the story that we've all had to deal with. The amount of bullying that occurs. We have Tina Peters in prison for this.
Yep.
Right?
And it's, one of the things that I talk about too with this, when you look at agriculture tends to be more of a conservative department, more of a conservative field. A lot of the farmers.
Well, Rich, hold on a second. I'm going to stop you for a second. One of my best friends is a gay married Jewish father of two. He's been my business partner for 14 years. You'll meet him before you leave. We've never had a fight in 14 years, right? And he is progressive. He loves Bernie Sanders. Loved Bernie Sanders. He thinks Bernie's a little bit of a nutball now because he didn't see, but he's always thought for himself. He has a child that identifies differently than I would probably agree with. And so, man, how do I say this? conservative, progressive, we all have similar ideals on life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
Exactly.
Right? And we've been separated by social issues that I don't even think, I think there's a piece of paper between them. I mean, other than abortion, which I think there's a lot of people that are progressive that say, hey, you probably shouldn't kill babies, right? So I just want to say that because I think when we look at conservative values for agriculture, I have lots of friends that are Democrats that are farmers.
In agriculture?
Yeah.
I would, where I'll go with this is I'll say if something is small and traditionally seen as being conservative, we see rampant fraud and DEI being embedded into it. Imagine how much larger this must be in something like healthcare or education.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this the other day. The USDA gives funding to the land-grant universities and our extension programs. And if you're not familiar with extension, that's things like 4-H and the Master Gardener program. That funding comes through NIFA, through the USDA. How woke are these universities and these programs? And can you trust that gender ideology and stuff like that hasn't crept into 4-H and the Master Gardener program?
No.
And that our federal dollars are subsidizing that?
But the fact is that we shouldn't even have to deal with this, right? We shouldn't be weaponizing our children or indoctrinating our children and putting this stuff in front of them to begin with.
Exactly. But this is where I don't think a lot of the average American is aware that this is where they think that President Trump signed an executive order and said, we're getting rid of DEI, DEI is gone. And it's done. It's a solved issue. But it's not. And this is happening all over the place. And this is, my example of it is just one example, a small example of something happening in one program, in one department, in the state agency in Colorado. And when you blow the whistle on it and you bring it out into the light, the state retaliates.
Okay, let's not just talk about DEI. Let's talk about, and that's cost you your job, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about holistically. Look, when I was growing up, I had a gay friend, right? He was fine. Everybody knew he was gay.
Nobody cared.
Nobody cared, right? We thought we solved all the problems. My generation thought we solved all the problems, and you're probably not that far off from my generation. We thought we solved all the problems. We didn't care if you were purple with webbed feet. We didn't care, right? And here we come down this road, and now we have pride flags in every school, every classroom. But in those classrooms, we don't have American flags. We have teachers that are telling kids that they're special if they identify for something other than straight. And I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked my friend. Is it easy being gay? Like, has it been an easy life?
No, but I will say that I think in the last few years it's gotten harder, not because of the fact that I don't have acceptance from the conservatives. Joe, you know I've traveled all across the country. I've been on Capitol Hill, and I've talked to hundreds of Republicans in legislatures and members of Congress. And I can count the number of times on one hand where I'm told that they disagree with me. Even at AmFest, when I was at AmFest, by and large, I had 2 conversations with the tens of thousands of people at AmFest who, I just don't agree with your lifestyle. Well, that's fine, I don't care. You're free to believe whatever you want to believe. But the problem is, because I've become a gay man who speaks out against this ideology that a man can become a woman or a woman can become a man, and we're going to start going after women's spaces and women's sports, women's prisons, and we're going to start mutilating and sterilizing children under the guise of affirmation, that somehow now I am not welcome in what is supposed to be seen as my own community, a community that espouses a doctrine of love and tolerance and acceptance.
Yeah.
So, no. I find it harder to live as a gay man within the I call it the LGB, OMG, WTF plus community.
I might adopt that. I might adopt that deal.
But when the thing is, it's because you can't have diversity if you think differently. And this concept of assimilate and comply is conformity.
Right.
And that's exactly what they want nowadays.
So, and it's not conformed to any sort of logic. It's not conforming, and they threw debate out the window and said, you just have to believe what we tell you to believe. So it's a bullying environment as well.
it is very much a manipulative environment, and a lot of times I actually wrote an article about it. It's called The Worn Out Playbook of Trans Queer Activists, and I go through and I list out all of these logical fallacies that they employ.
Yeah.
And the other thing is a lot of it is built on factual fallacy. And when you speak out against that kind of stuff and you understand these logical fallacies, you can shut down the conversation pretty easily and then redirect it back to the fact. But it's a house of cards, so it doesn't hold up to any kind of scrutiny. Here's what I would say, though. A lot of people don't understand why I speak out about it. It's rooted in Marxism. And this Marxist ideology...
Like Victor Marxism or just...
Well,
I'm just
that's
kidding.
a conversation we could have.
I'm just joking.
That's not even his real name, though.
No, it's not. It's Von Kennedy.
Yeah. But, here's the thing. Well, and is that even his real name?
We don't know.
So when you talk about this agenda, the whole purpose of this agenda, and we can see it in play right here in real time in Colorado, it is designed to undermine the foundation of society, families. And when we talk about what it's done, we see the effects of how it has corrupted the media, it's corrupted science, it's corrupted medicine, it's corrupted government, and it's corrupted our schools.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, this is the part where I feel like we're anemic because we talk about it, but we're not about it, right? I feel like we have to get to the next stage very quickly, and that is, and I'm already there, right? I mean, I'm at the warrior stage. I think you're at the warrior stage too. I think there are many men out there, and I'm gonna put you with my tribe, bro. You're willing to fight, right?
Yep.
And you've given up your environment. You've given up what should be your tribe. Really, it shouldn't be though. There shouldn't even be a tribe that delineates us based on sexual preference. There just shouldn't.
Well, I would agree with that, and I take that and put it into practice a couple weeks ago when I was back in D.C. and I was speaking at the Supreme Court about these 2 Title IX cases, and people asked me, I was the only gay man who spoke about protecting Title IX, and they said, why is a gay man speaking about this? Because beyond being a gay man, I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm an uncle, I have women in my life. Right. My mom came of age before Title IX rights.
Now you were born from a man. Well, come on.
That'll never happen.
I'm just kidding.
Born of a man.
Sorry,
is Brian to tone somewhere in the room? The thing though is when you have these women in your life and you see the opportunities that Title IX afforded people like my sister and people like my niece, and now I have a great niece who's growing up, and those rights and those opportunities and those privileges are under threat by men, because that's what trans rights are. They're men's rights. That is something that should alarm all of us. I mean, you have daughters, maybe granddaughters.
Not yet.
Not yet. Goodness. You're getting there.
No, I got some time, bro. Okay. I got some time, please.
But you got those kids that we see nowadays. What this comes down to is depriving women and stripping rights away from women. And the most fundamental right is the right to bodily autonomy and the right to consent. And we're telling women, you can no longer say no to a man in your private spaces.
And this is where, I have the most issue. I have the most issue. Yesterday I said something on the podcast, and it says, there is no hate like a Christian's love, right? In other words, we find ourselves, I have a saying prior to 2020, prior to having to fight because people came to my house to do harm to me. And you face death threats from people supposedly on your side. Again, this idea that we have football teams that we have to run around with. But I live my life by the idea that I accept people where they are, not maybe where I want them to be. That allows me to give up any sort of faith-based obligation to you and say, listen, I mean, look, Chris loves the Lord. He loves God. He's a faithful Jew. He's also gay, right? And I told him, I was like, you got to figure that out. It's not on me, right? But he's still one of my best friends, right? Mm-hmm. And I'd do anything for him, and he'd do anything for me. So, with that said, I find that we have these isms that we create, that don't allow for us to connect. And then you have somebody walks up to you and says, well, as a gay man, why would you fight for children? Why would you fight for women? And I'm thinking to myself, that it's like somebody put like a big old thing on your neck and you became a Martian or something, right? You're still, you said I didn't have to give up my integrity. At some point, there has to be this model that we affix to, that common sense and morals and ethics should be the thing that we're driven by.
Well, that's where it should be. But so many people are willing to compromise those morals and those ethics. And I think one of the problems that I've had, Joe, in this fight, for the longest time, I would be at the state capitol. And there are times where I was literally the only person testifying in a position on a bill. And I would ask for the Capitol, the State Patrol, to walk me out to my car.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, I've received death threats. I've received those kinds of things. In fact, I was at the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in a federal case I have against the legislature. We were having oral arguments on September 10th. In that morning, my attorney asked me, he said, how come you don't have any kind of security with you? And I said, I've just never felt like I've needed it. And he said, I travel across the country and I litigate First Amendment rights, and the ones that are always the most dangerous are the ones that involve trans rights. And I just said, again, I just felt like they're all bark and no bite, and I've never felt like their threat was anything serious. That afternoon, when we came out of the courthouse, was when we walked out of the courthouse to the news about what had happened to Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
And I've been asked that question several times, and I'll tell you, it does cross my mind now because, as you'll talk about later, another shooting that involved a trans-identifying man where he went and killed two in 2 weeks, where you've got these men who have mental health problems that we affirm instead of treat.
We created. We created, and I think this is where they've captured our speech. We created this problem by saying it's okay to change,
but
to be a...
We have to stop. One, you're right. Stop using the word gender.
Yes.
There's no such thing as gender. Right. And when people say how many genders are there and we say there's 2 genders, there's none. There's no such thing as gender. We got to take, that word was invented by the left to start what I call verbal gerrymandering.
Yeah.
And they're moving the goalposts.
That's good.
We got to go back to calling it sex. It is sex. There are 2 sexes, male and female. So that's part of it. But, when we start playing the verbal gerrymandering game, the left wins. And if they can convince you that now there's genders, well, no, there's only 2 genders. Well, but there's not. There's 0. Stop saying there's 2 genders. There are 2 sexes. Gender is a social construct.
Yeah, so this is where you get into some of these transgender people that say stuff like, well, I got female on my driver's license. And I was like, well, then they have a typo, because you're not a female. Yes, I am. I'm a woman. No, hold on a second. You got something that swings, you're a dude. Right?
Even if you cut it off?
Even if you cut it off, you're still a dude. You're just a eunuch at that point, but you're still a dude.
Here's the problem, though. So we create a problem, and then we medicalize it. So a person becomes convinced that they were somehow born in the wrong body.
Right.
And a lot of these men, they're just autogynephiles. They're just perverts. They watch too much porn and they rotted their brain.
Right.
And so,
which is readily available. And
exactly.
Right.
And so the other thing that we've done is now we've given them estrogen. Well, if anybody's ever been around a woman who's pregnant or going through menopause, you know what estrogen can do to the mood of a person, and it really messes with your emotions. And I think that you take someone already who's psychotic, you put them on estrogen, they have the strength of a man, and then they have everything it takes to become violent. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing.
Sorry, I've had this cough for forever. It seems like, so I'm not contagious. I don't think.
It's okay.
So you're absolutely right, and I've been married for a long time, and I know what estrogen does to my wife naturally. So can you imagine what it does to a man who's not used to having that?
Exactly.
I know what it does to me because I take testosterone, and so I take another supplement on top of it that regulates estrogen, because you think about testosterone, does your estrogen can get too low or get too high? Astrozole, that's what I take. So it makes sure that everything stays balanced, because I want to be able to balance it. But if it gets out of balance and I don't take it, frankly, I get nervous, right? So what would that do to, and that's naturally producing, what would that do to a man that is taking estrogen because he wants to grow boobies?
Yeah, and that's where I think we're seeing a lot of these acts of violence. Transgender people are always going to play the victim, but they're not the victims of violence, they're the perpetrators of violence. Yeah. And so it has been something, as I've spoken out more and more. I was down at an event in Durango at a TPUSA event, and I literally had to have a special escort of SWAT, a detachment of SWAT, escort me into the building and out of the building because of the trans activists had become so violent and sent out so many threats. But that doesn't stop you from speaking the truth. And I've said this before. It was a story of in the New Testament. I said Stephen preached one sermon before he was stoned.
Yeah.
And you cannot allow them to silence you and use fear, because that's what it is. It is emotional manipulation, and that is bullying. And they're going to bully. They are going to try to bully you into silence. Keep speaking out and keep fighting to protect women and protect children. This is a demonic, it's an evil ideology. And I think that the more people become aware of it, the more people will start to realize this isn't a right versus left issue, it's a right versus wrong issue.
You know, it's I'm gonna show you some stuff if I can. I want to play the video that you put up that I saw, and I went, get Rich on here immediately, right? So if we can, let's go ahead and play that.
Hey everyone, it's Rich, the Colorado Department of Agriculture whistleblower. I'm gonna give you an update. I just got off a Zoom meeting with the employer, Colorado Department of Agriculture, and have been informed that I am placed on leave. And it was really interesting because it wasn't even 5 minutes before they had blocked my access to all of my work emails, my work phone, etc. I asked for my counsel to be present, and they denied the counsel. They actually, after I had asked for him to be present, told me no, that this was an internal meeting only. I also had tried to record the meeting, and they told me they stopped the recording of the meeting as well. Fortunately, I had a backup. I was recording it on my phone and also screen recording it, so I'll be able to use that as evidence. But this is the retaliation that is happening from the Colorado Department of Agriculture for blowing the whistle on federal dollars being used to fund DEI initiatives at the Colorado Department of Agriculture. I am now on administrative leave.
What? Why is DEI so dangerous?
Well, DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the things that is really important for people to understand is that equity piece. And when we talk about equity, we are literally talking about Marxism. And we're talking about this communist, socialist agenda where we distribute wealth equally to all people. So that's a big piece of it. And when we start looking at how that plays into agriculture, people ask, well, why is it in agriculture? Every one of these leftist revolutions throughout history has done two things. One, they've used children. They've indoctrinated the children and used them as their foot soldiers to carry out these revolutions. And two, they've also used the food supply and the distribution of food and wealth to control the people. And so that's where that falls into the piece of agriculture and why it's in agriculture. And we can see the diversity aspect of it in play. And this is part of a larger globalist agenda. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of this is driven by the UN. And an example of that is in the UN declared that the 2026 was the year of women in agriculture. And for the first time in Colorado history, the Colorado Department of Agriculture elected an all-female board of conservation, even though men applied to it.
How is that equity?
That is a great question. It's not equity, it's diversity.
That's not diverse. It's singular.
They see it as these women are an oppressed minority, and women need to.
But women aren't a minority.
That's part of the problem, though.
Yeah, I mean, so this is where
you question the narrative, and the moment you do that, the whole entire agenda just falls flat on its face because you expose it for the lie that it is.
Okay, so why do we debate the ridiculous? Why are we even in this position where we're dealing with this when everyone knows it's ridiculous? It's not something to be debated. It's something to be sold. Take your shit and get out.
Well, if you say something like that, like I did in this meeting back in November, I said, this is DEI on steroids. We are creating an inclusive leadership cohort, and we're literally talking about Colorado for All and the DEI initiative for Colorado. And if you speak out about that kind of stuff, you get told in front of everybody that your comment is inappropriate and told to turn off your microphone.
What?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I was told by my boss in my meeting that my comment was inappropriate and to mute myself. And I said to my boss in that meeting when we were talking about this, I said, I don't care that it's inappropriate. And he said, good, it's on record that you don't care. I said, no. And he told me again, mute your microphone. I said, no, it's on record that you will engage in viewpoint discrimination and silence anybody who does not go along with your agenda.
Yeah, so what did he say?
That's when
he got fired.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, you didn't get fired yet. You got put on leave. Are you on leave now, or are you fired?
I'm on leave. They've done this investigation. So that day I told him, I said, I do have contacts at the Department of Justice. Whether or not she does anything besides get mani-pedis, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, the Civil Rights Division, Harmeet Dillon would have a heyday with this.
Yes.
Because it would allow them to actually then further freeze out more federal dollars to the state of Colorado.
And that's the thing she's been great. Pam Bondi on the other side of it has not been so great.
She's not great. Neither is Todd Blanche.
She needs to go.
Yeah.
So that's where that's at. And then I did send the information to them and all of the evidence. I had collected the evidence and put it onto my personal computer, and I just sent it was a thick packet of all the documents and the evidence that I had, and I sent it off to the Department of Justice. 29 days later, the Colorado Department of Agriculture put me on under investigation. In the investigation, they just said that it was for policy violation.
Wait, hold on a second. So after you went to the DOJ is when they then retaliated against you and put you on leave.
Put me under investigation, and then they said they refused in the investigation.
This is the whole thing. This is the haves versus the have-nots.
Yeah, and the process itself is a punishment. But they refused in the investigation. They hired an outside firm to come in and do the investigation. And they said, we're not going to tell you what the allegations are or what the scope of the investigation is, saying, quote, it will become clear as the investigation progresses.
How is that even a thing?
That they don't have to give you a reason. They just did it.
That's not true.
And so they did the investigation. I still have not seen the investigative report. The investigation firm, it's Flynn Law Group, LLC, Employment Matters is what they're called.
There we go. Yeah.
So
Employment Matters. So the same organizations that get access to tens of millions of dollars.
And government contracts for the state because, they're Polis's buddies. And they refused to show me. They refused to tell me. They refused to anything. I still to this day don't know what the allegations are. So they gave their report to the Department of Agriculture. And then the day that they put me on leave, I had my attorney and I said, hey, they want to have a meeting, and they do it like at 4:30 on a Friday.
Right.
So I said to the attorney, he's like, okay, so I'll join you, and it was a virtual meeting. And the person who placed me on leave, his name is Jordan Beasley. He's the legislative liaison for the department also.
Yeah, I know who he is.
You do? Yeah, I figured you did.
Yeah.
And so he told me, he said, by the way, this meeting is just for you, me, and HR. Your attorney's not allowed to be there.
Well, that's not true either.
So I told my attorney that, and he said, well, just go ahead and record it. And so Jordan also stopped the recording of the meeting.
Can't stop the recording because it's one-party state.
One-party state.
You didn't even have to tell them, by the way, you were recording.
I didn't, but I know them well enough to know the tactics that they're going to be playing. So I had my attorney on the phone.
Recording.
On the phone, and I also was screen recording the meeting.
Okay, got it.
So
at least you recorded it.
Yeah, but this is the tactics that they play with the state of Colorado. They violate your rights, and they do so because they don't think that you're going to speak out about it, and they think that there's going to be no consequences for violating your rights.
There's a guy named Michael Caruso who has been victimized. You have Don Murphy, he's been victimized. I could go down the line of people that have been victimized, similar situations to you, similar situation meaning that they did whatever they wanted to do to the individual. The process is the punishment, right? And it's become endemic of the government in Colorado. It's as if it's captured so much to a level that we're now all slaves. and they're basically saying, slave, sit down. Slave sits down. Slave, you have to do what we say. Slave, we're putting DEI in place. Slave, you see what I mean? It's like it's a one-way street where there is no room for debate. There is no room for conversation. There is no room for anything other than you do what we say or else.
Well, I think for a long time, especially under the Biden, the auto pen administration,
right,
that was the case, because the Department of Justice would prosecute people who spoke out against this kind of stuff. But now that I think we have President Trump in office, there's been a little bit of a shift in that dynamic. And I think the state of Colorado still thinks that they are going to be able to continue going on and advancing these types of things. And I don't think that I think the thing that they're really struggling with is the fact that it is, I hate saying this, it is a gay man on the inside saying this is wrong and I'm going to speak out against it. And they don't know how to handle that, because most gay men are just saying, oh, DEI, okay, I'm cool with that.
Well, even if you're not cool with it, most people won't say anything about it, right? I mean, I will tell you, I have friends in every walk of life, and although I don't talk much about sexual orientation, because I don't care, we find ourselves, the people that I hang out with, find ourselves straight, gay. I don't have any tranny friends, sorry.
Neither do I. I love that you said it too, but neither do I. But the thing though is, and I think outside of most of this, it's really kind of weird. I say this when I am introduced by somebody with Gays Against Groomers, it's kind of like I'm coming out again, because every time you do it, like it's like, you know that if I'm with Gays Against Groomers, like, oh, he's a homo. Yep. Sure am.
Look, Chris and I get in conversations in rooms, and we say some of the most inappropriate stuff to each other, right? And I had to get rid of HR as a result of it, because they kept freaking out. So I had to find somebody that wasn't a squish in HR. Tried to find that. Right? This doesn't exist, right? No. So we would crack jokes all the time, and people were like, "Oh, is Joe going to be offended, or is Chris going to be offended?" And the answer was no. We didn't care. Like, we didn't.
Man, if you ever see my ex post, Joe, I'm like in Twitter jail all the time on the free speech blog, on the free speech platform. Elon Musk talking about that. What a lie! What a lie! It's such a thing, because I call them troons all the time, or tranners, and I don't care. I just let the tranny monogram fly. And so.
I say tranny all the time, and people are like, "It's not trans, it's transgender," and I was like, "I just shortened it for you."
No, I actually.
I was talking about a motor. That's what I was talking about. A car.
There you go. Nancy Mace, I love her because she's not afraid to call it out as it is. You know that video of her in the congressional hearing where she called someone a tranny, and then somebody objected, and she's like, tranny. So have you ever seen those damn it dolls?
Yeah.
I have a damn it doll that's all like rainbow trans flag colored, and I call it a tranny doll. And I sent it to her, and I said, instead of yelling damn it, you take it against the table and you beat it and you yell tranny.
I mean, we got to get our sense of humor back, because we've completely lost it. And it's one of the things that I think heals. I mean, I'll just talk about Chris. I don't talk about him very often, but he came out to me, came in my office. He'd only worked with me for like 6 months. And he's like, "I got something to tell you. It's like really bad." And I was like, "Okay." And we would joke around about stuff. And he was married. He still is married, has two boys. And we sat there. And so I came in the office. I sat down. I was like, "All right, what do you need?" And he goes, "I need to tell you something." And I was like, "Are you quitting or something?" I mean, we were like, everything was awesome. Like, we're 6 months into it. We're creating technology. We're doing crazy stuff. And he goes, "I'm gay." And I sat back in my chair like this, and I went, "Chris, you are the only one that did not know you were gay." Like everyone in the company knew you were gay. Everyone, like the dog knew you were gay, right? And he's like, "You're not mad?" And I was like, "What? Are you serious? Is that like a thing? Getting mad over the fact that?" I was like, "No, I'm not mad," right? But it took this, and that was the beginning of our relationship. That was the beginning of our friendship, right? Because prior to that 6 months, he was just a little off. Like you could just tell that.
Didn't want you to know something about him.
Yeah, didn't want to know. And then when he told me, I was like, "Yeah, well, who else knows?" I was like, "Does your wife know?" He's like, "I just told her, but she knew. She figured it out." And I was like, "Okay, well,
You know, I just feel like for so many people, the whole Stonewall situation recently, you probably heard about that, where they're like, oh, we're going to take the pride flag down and put the American flag back up. And I'm like, oh, cool. Like, honestly, that's cool with me. And people saying that this is gay erasure. Is Sarah McBride, Congresswoman Sarah McBride, I call him Timmy, making this big deal about it. It's like, sir, this is not gay erasure because, first of all, that flag didn't exist when Stonewall happened anyway. Second of all, what's really gay erasure is when you continue to use the word queer. And by the way, queer is not a sexual orientation. It is not a gender identity.
I used to call people queers all the time.
Queer is a word that I say on X. Again, follow me on X and you're going to see I let the words fly. I said queer is a word that's either used by self-loathing fags or heterosexuals who appropriate our spaces so that
We're still going to get in trouble on this one.
Put it on Rumble, not YouTube. Or it's a word that's used by heterosexuals who appropriate our spaces to gain access to children, aka pedophiles. Which apparently, I hear that Aspen and Vail are about to become the new Epstein Island in Colorado. So those whole things to me, it's not a sexual orientation, it's not a gender identity. It is a political ideology rooted in Marxism.
Right.
And so those are the whole story of Marsha P. Johnson throwing the first brick. First of all, she ain't no tranny. He wasn't even there. He was strung out on a park bench in Bryant Park. He was also a pedophile. A lot of people don't know about the Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Johnson running a...
Well, this is the whole thing that they wanted the kids to write stories on, right?
That's exactly right. And so when we start talking about Marsha P. Johnson, who was a pedophile, Marsha P., the P stands for pedophile, literally ran the Star House in New York where runaway boys as young as 10 were being sold out to make boy-on-boy porn or prostituted in Times Square. And so that's why the gay community in that time wanted nothing to do with him. But this is where we're now teaching children as young as 6 in Colorado about who Marsha P. Johnson is.
Yeah, why?
I have the same question. Why do we want to sexualize children? Why do we want to
it's not even sexualizing children. It's rewriting history. It's rewriting
that's
history.
That's the part that I say is gay erasure. Because now they're rewriting history. They're rewriting the actual gays and lesbians who fought for gay rights. They're writing them out and they're writing in some troon who was nothing but a pedophile.
Yeah, so just so you know, going back in history, I've always been comfortable with who I am, so I never had a problem with gay or straight. It never bothered me, right? I'm a happy heterosexual, and I don't feel like I should even say that. But the other side is that I remember the Matthew Shepard, deal. I mean, I remember donating to it at the time because I thought it was absolutely horrible. So where have we come from this, where we got to a place where I thought we had solved the problem and, you can be gay, you can be, and I feel like gays and lesbians, and look, some of my audience is fully uncomfortable with this conversation, which is why I'm having it, right? And I know we were talking about DEI and we'll get back to the corruption stuff because I want to play some other stuff. But how do we get from that to the co-opting of the LGBT community?
Or the OMG WTF plus.
Yeah. How did that happen? How did you let it happen? How did other people let it happen? How did you get to a place where mental illness was able to be put in the middle of it and then used as a platform to go groom children at their most vulnerable time?
When you understand who really is behind the gender ideology stuff, it's the World Economic Forum. It's WHO. It's the United Nations. And then you got Jared Polis, and you've got Tim Gill, you got Pat Stryker, you got Marlene Rothblatt, you got these billionaires who are funding it, but you got these world organizations who are using these billionaires to fund these people like Nadine Bridges, who runs One Colorado, who identifies as a black queer herself. And they're nothing but useful idiots. And if you really want to understand more about the queer movement and how they're specifically targeting our children, there's a book by James Lindsay called The Queering of the American Child.
Yeah.
It's a great book. The thing that happened during the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and early 2000s, gays and lesbians were fighting for things like don't fire us because we're gay, don't kick us out of don't deny us housing. So it was basic human rights, housing, employment. Then they said we want to be able to serve openly in the military because they want to fight to defend freedom and liberty. So that happened. And then there was the whole marriage equality thing, which to me, if you really,
it's a slippery slope.
If you really ask me my personal opinion, the government should not be in the business of licensing and regulating marriage for anyone. If you want to get married, go to the church and get married, go to the synagogue, go to the mosque. But why is the government involved in that aspect of your life?
Well, let me show you the intersection of marriage and law, right? So maybe the arbiter of that. Okay, I don't believe there should be a marriage between a man and a woman. But one of the issues that came up, which is a valid issue, is that you have two people of the same sex that cohabitate, and one dies. All of those things go to the next of kin, which is not the person they spent the last 25 years with. There's no eligibility for them. So there was a legal quagmire that got created that led to civil unions being turned into marriages, which I think is wrong. I mean, civil union, fine, whatever. Right? I think marriage is a biblical concept between a man and a woman, period. So the reason why I have a problem with gay marriage is because if you want to handle the civil aspect of cohabitation and where something is given to the next person without tax consequences and things like that, because of that, I think that we have to address it because of the legalized environment that's been created there.
But that becomes nothing more than a property contract.
But a property contract with implications that you have to give up to the government 50% upon death because you're not the spouse, or it has to transfer through conveyance to the parents or the brothers and sister.
That's what we're asking for. I think my perspective on marriage is more libertarian than most people's.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from my work in genealogy and seeing like 200 years ago, you did not go. If you go back 200 years, you don't go to the vital statistics. You don't go to the county. You don't go to the state to find out who your ancestors are. You go to the church.
Yeah.
Because that's who
held the records.
That's who you went to the church to get married. You went to the church to get baptized. You went to the church for their death and their burial.
Yeah, I agree.
You did not go to the government. Now all of a sudden the government has figured out how to cash in on all of that.
And you got to pay for it too. And there's the thing. I want to read a question here that came from Mod Trend. It says, what I don't understand about gays is how we think the world would stay populated if everyone was gay. Now, Rich, this is a good question for one reason and one reason only. The World Economic Forum has stated that they want to reduce the population by 95% across the globe, right? It's a part of their mandate, right? It was first spoken in 2017, and in 2021, you've all know Harari said when it was 90% that we need to move it to 95%. Bill Gates has talked about it. Klaus Schwab has talked about it. They've all talked about this. So if you were trying to eliminate populations, you would groom and indoctrinate children into that lifestyle because you're likely to what? Not have children.
Well, they've taken it one step further. They are actually actively eliminating gays and lesbians. You take a child who is not gender conforming, is what they call it. Again, you're not fitting into regressive sex-based stereotypes.
Right.
So a boy who might be more feminine or like to do feminine things, or a girl who likes to do more masculine things, and instead of saying you're gay or lesbian, which a majority of them do grow up to be gay or lesbian, we're just simply saying they're transgender. And then what are we doing? We're sending them down a pathway that leads to them being sterilized and mutilated and increased suicide rates.
Right.
So I see it as a modern day form of conversion therapy. Interestingly enough, when you start looking at that, one of the things that we should talk about is the largest provider of gender affirming care, which it's not gender affirming care, it's mutilating and sterilizing, it's butchering children, is Planned Parenthood. And Planned Parenthood calls, their funding comes through the state legislature under the guise of reproductive health care, which is an oxymoron because abortion is not reproductive health care and sterilizing and mutilating a child is not reproductive health care. So it's a form of population control by sterilizing the next generation.
Yeah.
And it is an iatrogenic effect, and we see that it's a social contagion, and it's being driven through the schools, and it's being driven through social media. And I say all the time to the parents, get your kid out of public school, and know what they're looking at on social media. Because if you look at social media and they're on TikTok all the time or they're on Instagram all the time, you got to get them off the devices and get them outside in the real world. Your kids need to touch grass.
Yeah, touch grass. It's a good way to put it. Okay, let's go back to the DEI thing, and you're on leave. Okay, you've made allegations against them based on being a whistleblower. Who have you told about is it the DOJ that you filed a report with?
I filed a report with the DOJ, and with the Department of USDA. I've also filed one with the Office of the Inspector General. I've heard from the Office of Inspector General. I have not heard anything with the DOJ. And I have talked to some law firms about this, and it's just right now we're kind of in this holding pattern. You got to kind of, it's like when you're at the dentist and you just got the Novocaine and you're just waiting for it to take effect so the dentist can come in and do the work. You're really uncomfortable, can't do anything about it. That's where we're at. So it's just, what's going to happen. You just got to wait for it to happen. And that's where I'm at with the state.
Rich, there's a ton of whistleblowers. There's a ton. I mean, Christopher Gregory is just one of many that whistleblew against what was happening with the Macias contract inside the Colorado Supreme Court. And we know that has a trickle-down theory and that they had a duty to report even someone like Melissa Hart, who was a Supreme Court justice, that got drunk, ran into a car, did a bunch of damage. We've now talked to a couple witnesses that were involved in that. And the fact is they covered up the crimes, all these crimes. And we're allowed to just walk away with impunity. Like the rules don't apply to them, right? So inside of this process that you're going through, are you paid while you're on leave, or are they not paid?
I am being paid, and I will tell you, I don't think that they were anticipating me being as outspoken and vocal about it.
Yeah.
They also know that
well, hundreds of thousands of people will watch this video.
Right. Well, and they also know that I am the director of legislation with Gays Against Groomers.
Yeah.
And my HR director has a teenage daughter who identifies as transgender. So I've had a target on my back for several years now.
Yeah, in other words, they were going to make it easy on you.
No, they weren't. But they also know that I wasn't going to make it easy on them. And what I say is an admission of guilt. After I made enough noise, and the Blaze picked this up, and they did a story on this. After that story came out, the state DEI website has been scrubbed and taken down, and all of the job announcements, because I sent a ton of job announcements from job postings across the state, from the state's personnel website to the Department of Justice. And all of those jobs had DEI language in it. In Colorado, it's called EDI. It's all gone.
All right, so you were now it's not gone. It's now under
hidden.
Yeah, it's hidden.
Yes,
right.
And that's the exact. Going back to language, I would say we got to understand that we're not just because the language may be off the website and no longer posted on jobs.
The process is still the same.
The process is still going on, so it's just a shell game, and they're taking it out of the limelight and they're putting it back behind the scenes where it's still actively going on. And it's not going to be until we take the practices of it and the ideology itself has to be dismantled before we can move forward as a society.
Right. Okay, so let's there's a saying that says what makes you feel good doesn't necessarily do good, right? So just because it makes you feel good doesn't mean it's good. Let me just, I'm going to continue to follow this. Who did you talk to, by the way? Steve Baker over at the Blaze, or who did you talk to?
Steve Dace.
Okay, all right. And did they do a follow-up? When did they do that story?
We did this at the beginning of February, so it's been about 2 weeks, and I have sent them the information that I'm now on leave because they ran the story before I was placed on leave.
Right.
I think we'll do a follow-up after. I'm looking at a disciplinary hearing for the state. It's called a 610 meeting, and waiting for that to be scheduled. And the
are we allowed to make it go? Can we go live? Can we just get your phone and we'll hook you up and make it so that you're sitting there?
That would be so awesome.
And we'll do it live. We'll do the entire meeting. They won't know what's happening live.
This is the thing, though. In Colorado, they do these because we live in a banana republic at this point. And this is just a kangaroo court.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I've been talking about the special master, Gilman, who's in my case with Coomer, the Coomer case, and has just violated every ethical law known to man in the judge advocates group that they have here in Colorado, and was assigned by the judge, who also has procedurally just butchered the law. right? So this is normal. This is how they operate. They do whatever they want, right? And I'm trying to highlight the fact that we don't have a working judiciary now, that it basically is a cartel.
And that's why one of the things that I'm looking at doing and plan to do with this, there's no way when you go through the state personnel board, there's no way when you go through the Colorado Civil Rights Division that a person with pronouns in their profile is going to give you an impartial, fair hearing or investigation on any of this. So that's why our tactic at this point is to file a lawsuit for violating my First Amendment rights in federal court. And we'll take it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court if we have to, because litigation in federal court is the only way I see us winning these type of battles.
Well, if you can get past the judges in the federal court that have created density about being advocates. I mean, they are these Marxists, they are these evil demons we're talking about, right? So you're not immune to it because you have qualified immunity, which is one of the reasons why I say we have to get rid of immunity for judges and DAs and the like.
And even at the state level where I'm at now in the Department of Agriculture, they say that they have governmental immunity. And that, if you followed my previous lawsuit, the current lawsuit that I have against the state legislature, they're saying the same thing. But that's why you sue them in their personal and their professional capacities.
Right.
And nobody has immunity against violating your constitutional rights.
No, but the judge, it's very difficult. The problem is they take care of themselves, right? So they're the enforcers. They're the ones that get to be the Guidos on the street, creating havoc, right? Taking money from people, sweeping evidence under the rug, doing eliminate certain evidence from getting in the court. I feel like I could be a lawyer right now, by the way.
It's very much a cartel-like situation.
It is cartel. Yeah. It is. I mean, you have the boss, which would be like a polis. You have the captains, which would be the people that work for different organizations, Weiser, Griswold, things like that. And then you have the earners and the enforcers, which are the people on the ground that are bullying, intimidating, and stealing your ability to do the work that's necessary. So it very much is a cartel. It is a cartel. It's a criminal cartel. It's conspiracy. Yep. Right? So I want to, can I move away from this really quick? Because we're going to get to the bottom. I'm going to call the CDA. We're going to do it on the next show. The next show, which I'm going to do I won't be here tomorrow, guys. Patrick's going to be here tomorrow, and it's going to be a fire show for you tomorrow. But I'm going to do another show where we actually actively call them while I'm on the air and ask questions. So I'm going to set appointments and do things and make phone calls, and I'm going to try and figure out if I can get people to just answer questions. That doesn't mean they won't answer questions. They will answer questions because they won't. But I want people to recognize that the leaders that they have inside of these organizations feel like they can act with impunity. Again, just another step towards all of the fraud, corruption, grift, and graft we have in Colorado specifically. This state is captured by demons.
It is, and I commend you for running for office because I know what's involved in that. But it really is. It takes people like you and others that are Scott Bottoms. I have a ton of respect for him. Good dude. Standing up for what is right. And a lot of people say to me, like, how are you holding up during this? You know what? God is greater than I am, and he is greater than the situation. I'm not worried about it because I know that whatever happens, the sun's going to come up tomorrow, and God is still God.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I was talking to a friend that says, well, people that are gay can't have God. And I was like, you're retarded. Yes, they can. Yes, they do. So that was a fist bump you guys got, by the way. That's what you heard.
Somebody said the other day to me, they're like, well, God won't save sin. And they throw that passage of I think it's in 1 Corinthians out there. I'm like, you know what? There's a passage in Romans that says, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved.
Yeah.
And so if you believe in a God that won't save certain people because of their sins, then you believe in a God that doesn't exist in the Bible, and you believe in a false gospel and a false God, because there is nothing that can separate me from the love of God, because I believe that Jesus Christ is my Savior. And at the end of the day, if you don't have holes in your hands, you're not qualified to judge me, because I know my relationship with Jesus Christ and my standing with God. So man's opinion of me doesn't matter.
Yeah, and look, everyone has their cross to bear. I think that's probably what you said, that gave me chills a little bit, because I just said it. And this, by the way, came from a friend who I was on the phone with yesterday. I sat at Ryan, and he said there is no hate like the love of a Christian, right? Or a Christian's love. And I think it's something we should consider when we walk through the idea that we can love people. And there's so much sin that people hide, right? That's why I say that those without without sin cast the first stone.
Exactly.
And I think that Jesus was writing on the ground the sins of each. Yeah, what their sins were, and so they ran away, right? They're like, okay, I lived my life in shame.
I got outed.
Yeah, so it's which is why they killed him, right? And he carried, like a gangster, carried that cross up the hill 2 miles to his own death, right? I mean, he did that after being whipped and flesh missing from his body and just terrible things. And so we find ourselves in that place where we want to judge people. And, I see this all the time with gang members that I used to play football with. I say used to because I got to have a surgery. Or the guys at the Dream Center that did 10 years of a 20-year sentence. And I'm mentoring them back to, hey, how do we rip off the rearview mirror? So much of society is attacking somebody for who they are, right?
The gospel isn't written for the people out there. It is written for the person right here.
Yeah.
And the gospel message that we need to focus on is we're all sinners, but through Jesus Christ we can all be forgiven and made perfect.
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to, if do you have time that I can go through another little bit? I know I've kept you a little longer, but we have a part of the thing that we're kind of breaking is something that happened yesterday. And so yesterday, Dennis Lynch, at the Dennis Lynch Arena in Pawtucket, Rhode Island, during a high school boys hockey game, 3 kids were killed, 2 victims and the shooter. So the shooter, 3 others were critically injured and hospitalized. Victims include the shooter's ex-wife and his son, a player at the North Providence High School team. No players or students were harmed. So he killed his ex-wife, and he killed his own child. The suspect is Robert Dorgan. We have a picture of him we can put up. Known as Roberta Esposito, he was born in 1969. The father of the player opened fire on what police describe as a targeted family dispute or domestic incident. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. After a Good Samaritan intervened to subdue him. The police chief confirmed it was a targeted event and that multiple weapons were recovered. He had a past family conflict. So I want to put this out there if I can. This is the daughter of the Rhode Island hockey shooter. There's a picture of him right there. That's a dude.
It's a total autogynephile, AGP.
Yeah. And so, but I want to also, if you can, this is the daughter of this shooter. So let's go ahead and play it.
John, my family, and he's dead now.
She described that shooting suspect as her father. She came out of the police department behind me here in tears after presumably being interviewed by police.
My father was a shooter.
What happened?
Shot my family, and he's dead now.
What was the reasoning? Was there a family argument?
He has mental health issues.
So yes, she goes on to describe those mental health issues a little bit more. She says that he had been struggling with mental health for quite some time. She said, quote, he was very sick.
Rich, this is from the libs of TikTok. Let's put this up if we can. Rhode Island trans shooter tweeted yesterday warning that you shouldn't point out that trans women are really men or they will go berserk. Transgender people are violent and a danger to society.
Yeah, that tracks. You know, I just posted this earlier today on my threads Rhode Island shooter, trans. Denver shooter, trans. Aberdeen shooter, trans. Nashville shooter, trans. Georgia shooter, trans. Philadelphia shooter, trans. Iowa shooter, gender fluid. Uvalde shooter, trans. Colorado Springs shooter, trans. Minnesota shooter, trans. Trump supporter, non-binary. Boulder shooter, trans. Iowa shooter, trans, gender fluid. Charlie Kirk's killer did it on behalf of his trans boyfriend. Tumbler Ridge shooter, trans. When are we gonna stop playing this game of it's the cis white men that are the problem that you hear all the time? By the way, trans men, women, they identify as women. They're men. They're white, most of them. When we tell them a lie, when we tell people that you can change your sex,
it puts your mind in a conflict.
And the other thing that I really, really think we need to address is we need to address the porn addiction.
I agree. It shouldn't be something that's readily available.
It's
Top 5 websites are not Google, are not search engines, they're porn sites.
And so until we do that, and we're actually willing to have a real conversation about the mental health disorders and the delusion that goes in behind the scenes on all of this stuff, we're never going to stop the problem. And the problem isn't guns. And I'm an absolutist when it comes to the Second Amendment. I believe that everybody has the right to own firearms. But we got to have a conversation about the mental health state that these men are in and what is driving them to commit these acts of violence.
Yes. Yeah, this is crazy. And I think the craziest part about what you're saying is that you're saying the quiet part out loud as a gay man.
It's obvious. This isn't about being gay or straight. This is about an issue that we have to talk about.
That right there, 47% of people that identify as trans try to commit suicide. 47%.
I want to say this also.
This guy committed suicide.
He committed suicide and homicide.
Yeah, he killed his son. He killed his son
and his ex-wife.
Yeah.
The other thing, though, that we got to do is there is this mental health crisis and this problem that we have built a pipeline that doesn't have an off-ramp. And we need to start building off-ramps for people to get out of the trans cult. And then when people do leave the trans cult, we need to be the ones that welcome them back into our society with open arms, because a lot of them are going to carry trauma, emotional trauma,
right,
and lifetime physical scars from what this cult has done to them.
Right. I want to play this for you, and because I want to make you laugh a little bit, maybe in the middle of all this. This is a dude saying that trans can have periods. Play it.
Fun fact, trans women also get periods.
Really?
Yes.
You get a period?
Yes. I get monthly cycles.
You get monthly cycles?
Yep.
So the lining of your uterine wall is falling apart and draining. That's your uterine wall.
See, this is the fun part. Due to not having a uterus, the weird part is I still get the cramps, but I just don't get the.
Are you sure it's just not from Lupron messing with your body?
Oh, what?
I said, are you sure it's just not the Lupron messing with your body?
Oh, no, it's an actual.
You don't think so?
Yeah, I got the full-on emotional cycles and everything.
Yeah, but you're saying you have a period though.
I do, yes.
But you don't have any blood leaving you. There's no thinning of the uterine lining, which is what a period is. And some of the results of a period are cramping.
Yes.
So you have similar symptoms to a period, but you don't have a period at all. You have no period because you're a man.
God, he's retarded.
He's so retarded. And this means people want to go. They want to debate you. They want to debate the ridiculous, and we have to put up with it.
Well, I mean,
make it make sense, Kyle Clark.
You can't expect Kyle Clark. Kyle Clark's probably like, yeah, I have periods too.
Yeah, he does. He probably does. He is definitely a woman. Yeah.
He ate too much Taco Bell.
Yes. I mean, maybe it says gas. So I have one more, and this is Denver Public Schools is establishing a LGBTQ education advisory board, focusing on promoting LGBTQ propaganda in schools, pushing LGBTQ whatever initiatives, and activities on students and providing access to trusted adults. This sounds like grooming.
It is grooming. If it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's a duck. It's grooming. And again, I do not understand. Well, it is the Colorado Educators Association is probably behind this. You follow the money. You follow the money back to the National Educators Association.
Why not just get rid of it? Why not get rid of the teachers union? Why not get rid of the give the schools back to the parents?
I talked about this in a documentary that just came out that I'm in. It's called The Death of Recess. But this is grooming. And I still want to know why these teachers and these adults want these children to be sexual beings.
Yeah. I think that's the problem. They're literally pedophiles. I mean, we have, and if I was a parent, by the way, if my kids went to school right now, I'd probably be in prison. Because if you went and my child went to a classroom, my son, my daughter, I've always had an open door policy. Hey, how was school today? How was this? We got rid of Common Core inside of their charter school because they wanted to bring it in. I was like, over my dead body. So it didn't go in until we left that school, till they went to high school. Now they're grown. But I would hurt that person.
Joe,
I would hurt that person.
This is a point that I want to make clear. Parents, you can either show up to protect your children in the school board meetings and at the state capitol, or you will have to show up to the courthouse to fight to get your child back at the courthouse. And once your child is in the state system where gender ideology is forced upon them and you have to fight to get them back, you're probably going to lose. The chances of you winning to get your child back in the state court, the family court system here, is slim to none. Because we're working on legislation that if you don't affirm a child's gender identity and gender expression, you're now an abusive parent, and the court has to make that determination in awarding custody.
All right, so let's, I'm going to give you the final word, how people can follow you. We'll follow this case very closely. We'll make sure we call the CDA, because I really want to have a conversation with those guys. But I want to, as a final comment, you're talking to fathers out there, and I know that mothers have done a lot. By the way, we wouldn't have this country, we wouldn't have an opportunity to save it had it not been for mothers standing up and screaming. Matthias, would you agree?
I totally agree.
Mama Bear, there is no vengeance like Mama Bear's vengeance, right?
That's where I think people like the organizations like Moms for Liberty, Brandy Bradley at the state capitol is a huge fighter.
Love her.
I do too, and I admire her, and I know she's got an uphill battle, and there's probably times where she's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Because I have those moments. You have those moments.
6
for
years.
Humans. But it's these parents, the moms that have been out there that, and I will say as someone who's been with Gays Against Groomers, it's the mothers that have stood by me in all of these fights that have made the difference.
All right. Sorry. What would you say to fathers right now? What would you say to the fathers out there that say, I'm tired?
I understand you're tired, but imagine how much more tired you're going to be if you have to go to court.
Or bury your child.
Or bury your child. Or one day when your little daughter is taken away from you, and the next time you see your daughter, it's not your daughter.
It's your son.
Because the state has mutilated and sterilized your daughter and made your daughter believe that your daughter is a boy. What are you going to do?
I don't even know how this is even a thing. My mind is perplexed on why we haven't, I'm sorry, but men should walk in and just tear those flags off the walls in the schools. They should tell the teacher that has all the freakish stuff going on, get out. You live at 1754 Main Street? Okay, get out.
And please show up. You know, a lot of these trans activists will bully the women, but they won't bully a father.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're afraid of you. And it takes the dads to get involved, and I really want to encourage them to get involved. How would you feel as a father if your daughter came home from school one day and she said that she was raped in the girls' bathroom by a trans-identifying man? You would be apoplectic. I don't care how tired you are. Your ass would get up off that couch and you would beat somebody.
Well, I don't know if beating would be. Unaliving someone would probably be.
There you go. But we got to prevent that. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
I agree. Rich, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out. How do people follow you?
X Mostly is where I'm active. 5280 based homo. You can also
I still love the fact he says based homo.
5280 based homo on X. You can also find me on a lot of the other social medias. I've got Escaping the Rainbow Plantation. You can look that up and you can find me there, but mostly on X. There's my link tree right there. You can see some of the stuff there.
All right, perfect. Hey, thanks for all the work that you do. Thanks for standing up, and thanks for taking us. You know, the amount of work that you do puts many of these mothers and fathers to shame, because they've let it happen. So I appreciate the work that you've done. Thank you. And thanks for standing up to the CDA as well.
Appreciate it.
All right, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk Coomer. So this should be real fun. He looks like he's actually listening. So Coomer, whatever country you're in, we're going to talk about you and your fraudulent lawyers up next. We'll be right back. In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle. Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF Guns. What is DCF Guns, you ask? We're the best damn gun store and range in the universe. Do we have guns? We have all the guns. We got small guns, we got big guns. We even have beastly guns. We offer all types of training, and we have 5 ranges across our 3 locations. I'm a good shot. And of course, we have all types of ammo. We even have flamethrowers. Woo! We offer incredible membership opportunities, and members save even more on guns, ammo, and accessories. Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. It's hot. All right, so I did watch all the comments. Jeff, your comment that I got periods too on my keyboard, that was brilliant. I was kind of laughing in the middle of it at that particular comment. You had someone that said, you can hate the sin but not hate the sinner. Not my job, right? It is not my job. It is not my job to judge people. It is my job to be an example to other people. And sometimes I'm a good example, and sometimes I'm not. I'll tell you right now, I had an opportunity to talk to Peter Boyles. And for those of you that don't know, Peter Boyles had a show on Saturday. He's a pretty successful guy on 710 KNUS. And he's talking about me and other people and who's a serious candidate for governor and who isn't. And the Coomer stuff, and he said Joe Oltmann will be Oltmann, and he really had a bone to pick with me, and he was saying things with a guy named Steve Reams, who also a guy that doesn't know me, doesn't know anything about me. And so I kept getting phone calls and texts from people saying, this is what Peter Boyles is saying. And so I put this video out there, and I was pissed, right? Because I tried calling the studio, couldn't get through, phones were down for a minute. And so I did this video, and I went right at Peter Boyles. Because that's who I am, right? I'm a warrior. I'll speak the truth, but if you don't have the courage to bring me in the middle of it, then we're going to have a problem. But then I did get through. Somebody sent me a text that said, hey, phone lines are back up. I called up, and I was talking to his producer, and I was like, hi, this is Joe Oltmann. I think Peter Boyles probably wants to talk to me. And he said that I can't answer tough questions, or that people need to ask tough questions. Let him ask me the tough questions. And I didn't. It was a Saturday. I mean, I just flown back into town. Frankly, I didn't prepare for anything. You'll notice one thing about me. I walk into this chair and I'm doing 4 other company things for 4 other entities and making sure I get things. And I have to step into this seat and I got to be on. And sometimes I am. Yesterday I was a little off because I had so much going on. But most of the time, you can ask me any question. I'm going to answer it, right? Now, if you attack me, we got a problem. But if you want to ask me a question, I'll answer the question. So I went back and forth with Peter, and I told him that he was being institutionally dishonest. And then I said, you don't know what you're talking about. And he goes, I've been studying this for 5 years. And then I said, you've been attacking me for 5 years. You've openly come on this show and you've badmouthed me over and over and over again. And he said something that cracked me a bit. He said, you did a video and they attacked me and they attacked my wife. People in the community attacked me and my wife. And I said, I'm sorry. See, I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to have your family attacked. I know what it feels like to be attacked. And that's actually not what I was trying to accomplish. What I was trying to accomplish is making people understand the truth. And so what was supposed to be a 15-minute segment, I stayed on for 45 minutes. And I finally feel like I understood Peter Boyles. Not Peter Boyles, like, let's go straight to the attack of that he used to be a drug addict. And I did in the video. And I took the video down and I asked him about it on the show. I went straight at his throat. And then something in me said, stop it. Have a conversation with this man. And so I did. Peter Boyles, 82 years old. He's been around for 50 years. He's been an articulate voice. If you go back to the John Benet Ramsey deal, he was a articulate voice that wouldn't let the story die. So I had been listening to Peter Boyles for 30 years in Colorado. Anybody really has. And it took me slowing down to understand that, hey, this guy's not my enemy. He has been playing on the wrong side of the fence and listening to people like Dick Wadhams, who are just horrible examples of what we should be in our state, that has done a real harm to usher in with others Dominion voting systems, fraudulent elections, so that they could divvy up the cash. So anyway, in a couple of weeks, I'll be on with Peter Boyles, and I told him the same thing. You can ask me any question. Let's have a conversation about what Colorado needs. Let's have a conversation about what the election systems are. And this is where it gets to Eric Coomer. So let me explain to all of you something about me. Everyone gave me advice. November 6th, that Friday, I'm making phone calls. I'm literally just, oh my gosh, I got to get to the bottom of this. Do I, don't I? I'm sitting there with 2 of the closest people, family members my best friend, Gordon, he is, at the time, he was 82 years old. Yeah, he was 82, almost 83. He's 89 now. And he tells me, don't get involved in this. Just pass this off to someone else. Let someone else handle it. And the only thing I kept thinking at that time is, yeah, that's a great idea. And then the anger set in that, I've already given up the fact that I'm not going to be Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. Well, how could it be this bad? It can't be that bad. And then all the information started flooding in. And then that Monday, so I got in an argument with Gordon, and I basically, first time I've ever had harsh words with him. And I said some choice words that I regret. Now, I was up elk hunting. I cut my hunt short, and I went home. And I wrote these things on social media, and I kept thinking to myself, I got this guy. Like, I can't believe that I missed this. Why did I not? Why when I identified him, did I not dig further into what Dominion did? Why didn't I set the stage for this before the election? I could have stopped this steal. My brain was going 500 miles an hour. Now I'm sharing with you things that were going through my mind, and how I felt like I had failed myself and not, doing the, you were looking for this, but you saw this. Well, why not dig into it? Why didn't you go through, further? And you're like, because you're so focused in on the attacks, and you're not used to it. Like, if you're not used to attacks, you miss it. You miss the forest through So I remember getting on that night and I'm doing the show, and oh man, and everything changed that day. Everything changed. And I'm not going to rehash all the stuff that changed with having to say this is all the stuff that happened, knowing the repercussions. And I thought I was prepared for it. I thought I was. I was not. I mean, I know that I'm a strong guy. I know that I'm not afraid of the fight. But I'll be honest, I thought when we did all this and we went through it, it'll be over. Okay, guys, here's the deal. And when I went to D.C. in December, I'm like, he's going to sign the Insurrection Act. We're going to get to the bottom of it. We'll pull the computers. What they did in the 12th hour with the Georgia runoff election, I was able to predict that near perfectly. That's got to be enough. Nobody could be able to predict the outcome of an election. You shouldn't be able to do it. And yet I perfectly described, built a model, did all that stuff, went to meet with Pompeo's counsel, said this is what's happening. Sixth happens at the same time. Now they have this thing where they're like, insurrection, insurrection, insurrection. All these people are getting shot at by government informants. The whole thing stinks of high end. But then let's go back into December, and the only reason that I dug into Dominion voting systems is because of Eric Coomer. Because on December 9th, he wrote an article in the Denver Post that said that I did it for advertising clicks, which increased all the death threats and the things against me. And by this time, I have personal security detail literally 24 hours a day living in my home. At the time, he was actually not living in my home because I wasn't living in my home. I was living in a 43-foot RV with plates around the bed so that if somebody shot in, they wouldn't kill my wife. That's a real thing, right? And having to chase people on my property with guns, unbelievable. Like unbelievable, the things that I went through. I thought I was prepared for it. But it wasn't until December 9th. See, before I thought it was just Eric Coomer, and I was like, well, and everybody kept saying, use the word allegedly. I'd have phone calls from lawyers, use the word allegedly. So I use the word allegedly, and I'm thinking to myself, it's not allegedly. And they're like, Joe, use the word. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is that fear of loss advice that you get. So then you use some of that advice and you're like, but that was him. Like I saw him he was on the YouTube video, and I identified him, and I thought this guy was just a nutball. And I didn't know that Dominion ran 50% of the vote of the American people. Nobody did. But until on 12/9, Eric Coomer wrote that article and lied and said that I reproduced his social post and that they weren't his, and that I was trying to impersonate him. And it just didn't stop. It was like, and by the way, by this time, everything about Eric Coomer, even another Eric Coomer, everything about Eric Coomer, anywhere on the internet was gone. It was gone. You know the only people that can do that? It starts with a C and ends with an IA. The CIA is the only people that can do it. There's not a mechanism in place that would wipe every single search engine of Eric Coomer other than the CIA. They're the only ones that can do it. The government is the only one, call it CIA, DIA, whatever you want to call it. That's the only organization that can do that. And say, Joe, how do you know? Because I'm in tech, and I know what it takes to actually remove things. And I mean, wipe websites within 48 hours of the initial deal. By Monday, it came out. By Wednesday, it was all changing. All of it. By Thursday, there's nothing on the internet. Within 3 days, there's nothing. I went through everything. I took screenshots. I did this stuff. You're in a fog. People are attacking you days after the deal. Someone comes to the grocery store, tells me they're going to attack my family. They're going to kill my family, wearing a mask. I mean, everything that you could imagine happened in this short period of time. And then I got to get personal security detail, and then what do I do next? And I got to run the company, and then like there's so much stuff running through my mind at that point that I had no idea. I had no idea how bad it was going to get. And the attacks just kept coming. Well, so let me just tell you, when you go through this, what happens? You make a decision. You have to predetermine what your decisions are on the outcome of everything that you plan on doing next. You go on the podcast, you're doing podcasts with other people, you're on with Chanel Rion, you're on with all these people, like all these different people. And then he sued me. So, but that was enough for me to look into Dominion voting. So, okay, let's look and see if Dominion can actually steal elections. And I had a friend, his name was Andrew, he used to work for me. He's in Chicago. He's one of the first people that I called to say on the 7th of Saturday the 7th, November 7th, Saturday. He's one of the first people I called. And I'm like, look, we got to run some math. I need your help. I need to know if it's possible. I need to go through all this stuff, and my head's spinning and everything else. And so Andrew, who is one of the guys that look, the guy's a math genius. I mean, legitimately a math genius. And some of the stuff I haven't talked about because, well, I have talked about it on podcasts, but I know Coomer's listening, so he's got some real problems in this deal because there's no way he can run away from what I know about Eric Coomer from people that worked with him. But I remember in December when I started pulling all the RFPs, RFQs, asked people for information. By the way, by this time, I'm canceled on social media. I'm completely locked out of Facebook, Instagram. Instagram was gone. There was no Truth Social at the time. X had canceled me literally a week after. I think it was the 13th or 14th of November. I was canceled. I was gone. And they said that I was suspended for using multiple accounts. That's what they said. But I didn't have multiple because I had one from 2007 that I started. That's it, right? And this, I think, I had a couple 100,000 members or people that followed me on it. And by the way, I've been canceled 3 times. Once under Elon. Now, truth be told, I'm kind of squirreling for a minute. Truth be told, I was canceled on X under Elon when he first got it because I would literally come at people and say, "Well, let's go." So, I mean, I was aggressive. You want the experience to be okay. Like, you can call people trash, and it's okay. I still had this kind of fire in my belly, 2023, 2024. And I think it got up to another 20,000 or 18,000 or something. And then in 2024, I started another one. I said, okay, let's just handle this differently. Let's be different in how we're going to deal with the public. And because you're tired of people calling you a liar, well, people like Eric Coomer get stood up. So back to December of 2020, I went through every report. I went through every document, anything I could get my hands on. The researcher was hugely helpful in getting me information about Eric and about the whole, everything. So I was literally putting this together, and I was making sure that I was staying away from certain key details that I knew that I needed. I needed those details later. And then I was like, okay, I put this all in a board, and I was like, holy crap. I know how they're going to steal the election and the runoff race for the 2 Senate seats in Georgia. And if I'm right, this could change everything. Because the ups and downs and release the Kraken and all the stuff that was happening and all the kabuki theater and President Trump and Mark Meadows and all these people, and you have, Mike Lindell's out there, and you got Patrick Byrne, you got all these people that are out there talking. And by the way, I am literally not the guy that even I didn't like social media at all. I didn't like it. I was partners with all those organizations for our company, and we did all that stuff, and great, but I wasn't me, man. I just wanted to play golf and have fun, right? Sell my company and just move on and go back to helping people in my community. That's it. So I got sued on the 23rd, 24th, right before Christmas. And I was like, I don't care. I can justify everything that I did and said. And I thought for sure, I was positive that truth would prevail. I went to Washington because I was asked to take to Washington. I met with guys like, what was his name? Man, so many people I met with. There were some really good people. One worked in the State Department, one worked in intelligence, and all these people. And in the meantime, I had to meet with all these people, and I was getting more and more irritated because people were attacking me. Whew. But when I went to Washington, and I was like, it's over. And I would sit there and tell the guys, I'm like, just go walk in there to Trump's office and say, this is what you need to do. Sign that daggone thing, get in there. I'm sure of it. Now, they thought I was nuts on January 3rd and 4th, or 4th and 5th. Like they were grilling me, and here's the model, and you take the model. And I know the President Trump at some point saw the model, but it wasn't until the 5th at night when everything happened the way I said. And by the way, there were other teams that were working on it that I met with these other teams. There was a McLaughlin team, and then you had this NSA guys that were basically breaking down the data individually, and you had models that they built that showed that it went from Dominion to Seidel to Edison then to obviously all the media outlets. So they had all these models that they wrote, and I was like, oh, that checks, right? But you still have to have an internet connection, and at that time they said there's no internet connection, and nobody had access to the machines, so they didn't know that there was actually internet right on the boards for these machines. But they lied because Polis said there's no internet connection. I was like, guys, I promise you, there's an internet connection. I'm not sure you need it. You only need one person. Go back and check all my videos. You only need one person to do this across the entire country with fake and phantom ballots. No one was talking about either one of those, but it was written into the documentation for Dominion. You have the ability to create phantom ballots out of nowhere. You have the ability to then use mail ballot printers to actually execute on those ballots. You could then go print a stack of 50,000, put it through the machine. The adjudication rates were high, so we knew what was happening with the adjudication rates so that they could then suspend those inside the system, figure out what votes they needed, and matriculate those down as actual votes for Biden and others. And it would look like it was filled out by a human hand. We saw this happen in Georgia. And by the way, this all happened afterwards. What I'm telling you about the Georgia votes and what they discovered, none of that information, we didn't have any audits when I came out. So how was I able to predict the outcome of a Georgia election? So I thought for sure January 6th I was going to go meet with Pompeo. They said, we need you to meet with Pompeo today. This is 2 o'clock in the morning on Jan 5 or Jan 6, because Jan 5 we had the thing with the Georgia, and it flipped and both Democrats won. They called it for both Democrats. True story. So I go to the State Department. I'm walking in, and I was confident that President Trump was going to sign that deal. Everything was going to be good. I got to see the ODNI Insurrection Act. I got to see the report. I got to see all this cool stuff, right? And I'm like, yes, mathematically speaking, if you do this, this is what the outcome. Like my brain was just going crazy. Like, if you do this, then there's a risk, but they're going to get to the machines. They'll get to the machines, get to the source code, and you get it in multiple places. You'll be able to prove this because you need to get access to the ballots. And I knew at the time that not just the mail ballots, but they also had envelopes, and then they had shredder trucks in Georgia. And we had a person that was taking pictures in the bushes. And why did the FBI show up and threaten her and take those pictures from her? And why did she disappear with her husband? Like I had access to more information that none of you guys even know about. I was confident. I was super confident that we had caught these treasonous traitors and they were going to pay. Jan 6 happened. Jan 7, they tried to come after my company. They did all this stuff, and people said all these bad things about me, and that I was an insurrectionist. And my company was then, I had people in my company that were trying to take control of millions of dollars inside of my company, and a coup to overthrow me by a guy that I had brought in that's frankly worked for HSBC, which is highly connected to Dominion voting systems. And they did everything they could, and I got on a plane and I flew home. Mark Meadows blocked me from meeting with the president. I didn't really care anyway. I was like, you don't need me to do that. Go do it yourself. Jan 7 happened. Jan 8 happened. Jan 9, Jan 10, Jan 11, Jan 12. Nobody signed the Insurrection Act. President Trump was told by people like Bill Barr and Pompeo that there's no there. Chad Wolf, who worked for DHS, turned back over the ballots. I was sitting in the room. I was reading the actual text message from Christina Bobb. And it was from Chad Wolf, who said, that he can't get involved in it, that he turned over the ballot truck to the GBI, Georgia Bureau of Investigations. And it was theirs, and he didn't have authority, which he did. It's a presidential election. He had all the authority in the world. And we had the pictures of the ballot, the shredder truck that was first in the parking lot with the police department covered by cars on every side, and then it was moved over to the building across the street, put inside, and there was FBI agents all over it, and they were covering up the greatest crime in the history of the United States. Jan 13th, Jan 14th, Jan 15th, Jan 16th. By this time, I had to resign as the CEO of my company. I had to turn it over to somebody else. I had to step into this fire. People were still coming to my house like crazy. They were making death threats, and it was, I mean, everything had changed. I thought for sure we had them dead to rights. We had enough information, and the media kept repeating, nothing to see here, gold standard, nothing to see here. Christopher Wray was doing what Christopher Wray does. And the coup against the American people was ink dry. And not only that, but then soon after, you had the inauguration, you had President Trump got into it, all of a sudden Q came out of nowhere, you had Lynn Wood that was doing his thing, and there's this underground deal where the government's actually being run by something else, it's continuation of government, and you had all of this stuff out there, and you had the start of this Q, whatever you want to call it, and it's not even Q, but these conspiracies that intertwine truth with fraud, and Mike Lindell, the PCAPs, and Dennis Montgomery and Mary Fanning, and they were all designed to throw President Trump into a place of chaos. Chaos favors the op, doesn't favor the people. And the entire time I kept being fixed on, it's Dominion voting system, you don't understand, it's Dominion voting system, it's the ES&S, it's Smartmatic. And then I started studying, you had, Sir Brown or whatever his name is that worked for Smartmatic, and I uncovered some contracts with ES&S, and then I looked at how ES&S is the same substructure as Dominion, and then I started having conversations with other people related to this. And why am I telling you all this? Because in 6 years, I've learned a lot in my head about everything that's happened, but the person at the very front of this entire thing was Eric D. Coomer, Dominion Voting Systems. Don't worry about it, Trump's not going to win. I made effing sure of it. He was the director of strategy and security. He was the guy that sued me. He didn't just sue me, he sued everyone I talked to. And everyone I talked to, because I wouldn't give up the Antifa kid, settled because they saw the apparatus of government being too big. They saw the judges were rotted to the core. The attorneys in those cases said, Joe, we didn't have a choice. The entire judiciary is stacked against us. I've never seen anything like this. It's as if we had a sleeper cell. These are attorneys that have been in this for a long time. A long time. That said, I've never seen the judiciary turn into what it's turned into today. By the way, in the middle of all of this, you remember the Texas v. Pennsylvania Supreme Court stepped in and said, oh, they're burning cars in the street. We can't have those rioting. We have to say that they have no standing. For another state in a national election would have no standing against Pennsylvania for what they did in Pennsylvania. Now the ballot truck became, you had fact checkers that were out there fact checking everything, and Zuckerberg was suppressing everything, and then they canceled President Trump from X, they've canceled him from Facebook, and they took away the voice thinking he was going to go away. And they impeached him. And the country stood behind President Trump. And now I'm a man with no island. I have no company. I had to step out of everything. I'm trying to figure out how to put pieces together. Biden's now been put in office. Everyone's saying, don't worry about it. Just be a couple months. We'll get him back out. So I was just clinging to hopium, clinging to it, clinging to it. I was having conversations with people that were in positions of power all over the country. I was having whistleblowers and people come forward with me. Me and Max were having conversations all the time. I'm having to meet with lawyers and get lawyers, and then I have to go to court. And then he says, Joe, you committed a probable falsity. That was in May of 2021 with a judge called Marie Avery Moses, who was on the bench for less than a month and had just came to a meeting and then did a what's called a sua sponte and told the Coomer attorney literally in the status update, if you want me to look at in the initial conversation she had with all of us, if you want me to look at the judge's previous ruling, just go ahead and file a motion to consider. She said it to them in the middle of this case. and which they did. And before the ink was dry, they overturned a 20-year sitting judge that had just retired and gave access to changing the entire outcome of what procedure looked like inside of a courtroom. And she turned it into a kabuki theater. And now I'm angry. You've never seen angry like I'm angry. They're attacking my wife, attacking my children. I have personal security detail everywhere. I think I gained 20 pounds because I drank a lot. I would have a bourbon every night, ready for the fight. I had to get on my podcast and say that if you go near my family, I will not only kill you, I'll kill everyone associated with you. And I had to make that decision in my head that I was willing to do that. Keep in mind, I'm cut out of social media. I can't talk to anyone. I can't tell anyone what I think. All you have is thousands of articles being written about me saying Joe's a liar, Eric Coomer, the perfect villain. New York Times writes that. CNN picks it up. The Guardian picks it up. They fly down. They call me. They attack every part of my life, every part of it. And they just make up whatever they want to the betterment of Eric Coomer. Now, I'm fighting through this for 3.5 years. 3.5 years, $160,000 in fines. I'm protecting an Antifa kid that, frankly, why was I protecting him? Because I gave him my word that no one would ever know who he is. Turns out, by the way, that he gave me a fake name anyway, and that he finally told me in 2026, this is the weirdest deal, that I can't believe you didn't figure it out. And I was like, I was so angry, I called my attorney. I had never been through this many emotional things. I had already but now I'm being told that I just wasted $160,000 and that I could have just given up the kid and still he would have been fine. But still in my head, I said I wouldn't do it. Then they got access to my notes, and then I had other notes that I couldn't find. And I was glad I couldn't find it because I had written down all the stuff about that guy in one of the notes, but I didn't purposely get rid of it, but I felt like, okay, then we have all the stuff related to Coomer, and I'm walking through and I got to do depositions, and it's like a snowball. And I said, I've got to be able to continue talking about what this is and the election fraud itself. And that, the precipice of it is that nobody would have been talking about Dominion, the insides of Dominion, had it not been for me. No one would have been talking about Eric Coomer had I even find Eric Coomer, right? I mean, he was the public face of an article that I happened to get on the 6th of November. But then you had all these like things that came out of nowhere of how many people work for Dominion, and I'm like, well, then how did I find them? And then Tay Anderson from the notes, they got a hold of him, had to write an entire affidavit, and I was like, okay, well, there you go. There's the call. But he pinky swears that he's not associated with, that Eric Coomer was never there. And I'm like, oh, that checks. I mean, Antifa's going to tell you the truth. Eric's going to tell you the truth, right? And again, we didn't have Eric Coomer running into a building. We didn't have him standing in front of a camera lying with impunity saying, oh, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. I just ran into my bar and drank, and I didn't hit a building, and talked to my lawyer. And doing so with such calmness that it would make any of you give you chills. And yet I had to continue to fight 3.5, 4 years, 4.5, 5 years. People inside of our own party doing everything they can to basically defame me. People that say that they're on our side that said, oh yeah, Joe, he innocently took advantage of this drug-addicted Satanist, Eric Coomer, who wrote about peeing on his wife and making her bark like a dog. I couldn't understand why Republicans were adapting their leftist ideology and the leftist narrative, forgetting all the facts completely, and then just slandering me with impunity. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And then as I got more and more mad, I'm sitting here going to myself, no one would want to live the last 6 years that I've lived. No one. No one could hang their head high and fight like I had and go to over 900. I did this the other day. I walked through this. I think it's like 900. 900 flights that I took all over the country, going to different places all over the country, saying this is how they stole the election. I connected with Patrick Byrne. I stood with Mike Lindell for 3.5 years. I took his company, Frank Speech, public. He connected with a bunch of morons that pretty much didn't know much of anything, which is not uncommon for Mike Lindell. He would be bamboozled and taken advantage of left and right. And if it wasn't for me saying, tell this guy to get the hell out of here, I was constantly saying no. I was the no man. negotiating contracts for him, stopping him from being his own worst enemy. And in the middle of it, gave him money, me and my friend loaned him money, and he took it. And then when he didn't pay his employees and he paid for his plane, I was like, I'm done. I quit on principle. And I was like, you guys do whatever you want. Because I wouldn't, $15 an hour employees, you know, I remember what it was like not to make a lot of money. I remember what it was like to grow up poor. You live paycheck to paycheck, and that not getting that paycheck that one time could lead to you being homeless, right? And I couldn't do it to people because I've never been able to do it to people. And I say all of this, and I haven't even begun to scratch the surface over what went past for 6 years. I am not a victim. But I got a PhD in politics pretty quick. At the same time, I had to watch my company from its former self to become a shell of itself. It didn't have the direction, didn't have the drive, and frankly, it was in a state of shock with people in it because they had to read the same articles about me that I had to read. My own family members calling me saying, friends of mine that I've known for 25 years, people that I knew saying, Joe, are you sure, are you sure, are you sure? Just give the kid up. No. Pay $160,000 in fines. These idiot lawyers of Eric Coomer's committed crimes because they extorted money from me, knowing now what they already knew then. Keep in mind, they did a great job of keeping all the Dominion people away from each other. In the middle of this, by the way, I reached out to Fox News and I was like, let's have a sit down. I will fly to you. Now, I've spent millions and millions of dollars fighting for President Trump. I fought for President Trump and I never asked for an audience. I never asked for it. I never walked in and said, hey, you think maybe you can? No, I never did any of that. I didn't reach out to anyone. I waited till people reached out to me. I continued to fight by myself with other people that I aligned with that I knew were good people. And in the middle of it, people tried to convince me that General Flynn's bad and Patrick Byrne's bad and everybody's bad. And yeah, I had my questions about people, so I verbalized it, which is something you should never do, by the way, because then you alienate yourself from people like Patrick Byrne, who frankly are amazing people and spent over $80 million fighting. But I knew at the time before he even said it, that he had to have been connected to certain organizations in order to know some of the things that he knew, because I was given access to those things in the 9th hour on Jan 6th and Jan 5th and Jan 4th. And this is when I figured out that it's a huge game of kabuki theater. And the central casting, when President Trump says it, is a very true thing. But Eric Coomer, the more I dug into him, the more I had to learn more. I had to know. I needed to know. I needed to know how deep this went. And so I just kept digging, kept digging, kept digging. And the more I dig, the more I had people like Steve Bannon, you know, the guy that loves Epstein. The more I had guys like him that said, oh, you get away from Joe, you're going to get sued. Mike Lindell got sued. I spent 2 days on the bench, on the testifying, getting blasted. And I knew the first day when only 3% of the articles that were out there about Mike Lindell's trial even included me. And the entire, go check it out, go read the transcript. The entire thing was about Joe Oltmann. My name must have been mentioned at least 10,000 times during the trial of Mike Lindell. 10,000 times. It was a trial about Joe Oltmann. Joe Oltmann was on trial. Now keep in mind, I was the pariah of the world. I'm a successful business guy. I grew up poor. I like to fight. Frankly, I talk about it on here very openly. I'm one of the most loyal people anyone would ever find. I was loyal to Mike Lindell even after he betrayed me. And that's okay. I still talk to Mike Lindell. You say, why would you talk to Mike? He owes you money. He took from you. You know, because I'm built different. I will have consequences. And I mean, look, just because I'm upset at my kids and I have consequences and there's accountability to be had doesn't mean that I abandoned my kids. I didn't abandon Mike Lindell either, even though people like Brandon House and Steve Bannon didn't show up for him. But I did, and got treated poorly by his wife and whoever else was there with him, and looked at me as like I did something wrong. I was like, but I didn't have to show up. This is a little bit cathartic for me. I guess I should check and see if people are still paying attention. I went through that trial and I read what the jury said, and they said that I was both credible and I was non-defamatory. And I remember when the judge put her finger on that scale of justice and said, I find that there is defamation per se. It wasn't hers to say. She violated all the procedure by doing that because she was not the jury. She influenced the jury and said that I already found for defamation. Now all I need you to do is take money away from Mike Lindell. But there's a little box on the jury instructions and the response that says, was it malicious? And they said no. And Eric Coomer got on there and lied. And then it all fell apart for them because they withheld evidence and tried really hard to get the judge to exclude it. The judge was uncomfortable. You could tell that the judge was in on it. You could tell the judge was in on it. You could see it in her face as a guy that literally has seen that look before. You could see they were in on it. Counsel for Pompeo knew about the theft of the election. Pompeo left because he could not be complicit in that. They already had a conversation. Like, this guy's smart. Like, everybody, all the guys that are involved in stealing the election around President Trump, they all know Joe's not an idiot. He's a smart guy. You don't have to stay, Jeff. This is my show. I get to talk as long as I want. If I want to talk on here for 8 hours, I will. And I've been talking, just so everybody's clear, I haven't stopped talking in 6 years. Coomer and his attorneys, literally, they regularly, we're going to go through it right now, regularly say, Joe's talking again about the case. Because you don't let people rape someone and then walk away from it and say that the rape never occurred. They don't get to take from you or me or this country what was never theirs to take. And that is your voice. That's treason. And for somebody to say that treason is, you got to have a person that watches this. We watched it in slow motion as they stole state by state. They committed a conspiracy against the American people, and they collectively did it together, which means they're responsible for running a criminal cartel in Colorado, California, Washington, you name it, Oregon. Put this post up there. This is A3. By the way, Patrick Byrne is the one guy that literally has given me the ability to see things. Like, say, okay, now I have hope again. Because I didn't. I got on this, I was angry, I went from hammer, nail, you name it, running around, just wanting to hurt people. I did. Because I thought, man, the only way we can get through this is to really, so this is the post that I put up. Eric Coomer's attorney has now gone to court 3 times to have lawyers removed. He is trying to remove my attorney and tried to have Patrick Byrne's attorney removed. Tomorrow I break open the piece of trash special master who the Denver court judge assigned. The leftist retired trash heap has violated the law at every turn. This is true, by the way. The judiciary is rotted in Colorado. It doesn't even resemble a court. It is a cartel backyard bully pulpit that acts with impunity. I could care less what these criminals say or do. I will have justice, and no amount of make-believe or by Coomer or his bandit crime family attorneys will change what is coming. The gig is up. Coomer is hiding in another country because he is afraid of being arrested. It is just a matter of time, and his attorneys have a good chance of being his cellmate. They stole elections, which is really the voice of the people, to fundamentally change our nation. That is treason, and the punishment for such crimes is actually not a participation trophy. President Trump, let's move. I woke up to my attorneys putting out a motion to the court. Now, the court has asked that our attorneys violate a client privilege and give up information related to the Antifa kid who happened to come forward, who I've been trying to say, listen, we made a couple of key mistakes. We put in a motion that literally included an email we didn't tell him. So, of course, that caused problems. But then there's more to it. Now the special master's like, no, you have to violate attorney-client privilege. A rule that's been in place for a couple hundred years, that is supported constitutionally. You have to violate that. And I told my attorney, I said, if you violate this, you cannot be my attorney because you have broken trust with me. And they're like, perfect, we'll get rid of his attorney. So my attorney says, no, Joe, I have to fight this. I'll fight this. But was also forced to file a motion, if she was forced to give it up, a motion to step down. So this is all the stuff you don't see behind closed doors that are happening in the case. And frankly, this is how the sausage is made in a corrupt judiciary. This is why the Christopher Gregory case is so important in Colorado, because the amount of fraud that you have inside of Colorado, the judiciary, the thing that did the CDA and for Rich Guggenheim, he's not the only one. I got case after case after case after case where Phil Weiser has literally attacked with impunity people within the organization or within the state and gotten away with it because the judiciary just covered it up. But now we have them dead to rights inside the judiciary paying bribes, stealing money from the people of Colorado. And at the top of that is Jared Polis and AG Phil Weiser and Secretary of State Jenna Griswold. We have them. You know who else is included in all that? Coomer's attorney. Put up the next one. Breaking, Eric Coomer. You will not believe this. Coomer first tried to limit scope of the questions Patrick Byrne counsel could ask, then limit the attendees, me, from future depositions of Eric Coomer, then assaulted Peter Tickton, then lied about the assault, then in the deposition made massive admissions, then tried to stop us from getting access to the evidence in the DC court to prevent more perjury proof, then tried to remove Peters as Byrne's attorney, then tried to get my attorneys removed, and now they're trying to seal records related to the public having access to our motions. Inside the motions, Coomer's attorney, Charlie Kane, makes up more lies to cover up the lies he has already told, to get the corrupt and crooked special master and procedurally corrupt judge to again cover for Coomer and bar the public from seeing the fact that Coomer is a raging liar. This is the motion in link form, as well as Eric Coomer's deposition from the curling case in Georgia. This piece of trash has lied and collected money from others. He is sued because they let me speak. I spoke the truth, and these pieces of trash want to silence the truth. The gaslighting and lies from these clowns is overwhelming. Curling deposition is 90 pages. Here's the link for both. He is a liar and trying to hide that he is the cog to the wheel of the 2020 election. And then I put up all the stuff. I put it up. Can we put that page up, please? And I don't even know, I personally don't even know from my perspective, there's no outcome yet. Let me see if I can get it in a smaller form for myself too, see if I can do it. Someone just said, I didn't know the Coomer fled the coup. He did. This goes through, let me just go to page 2 really quick. January 16, 2026, 10 days prior to Coomer's deposition in the Coomer versus Patrick Byrne case, Middle District of Florida, he filed a protection order seeking to limit the range of topics on which he could be deposed. Specifically, he sought to preclude inquiry into foreign and domestic election interference, his role in any election interference, and what Dr. Byrne describes as an ongoing criminal investigation into those matters. Coomer expressed an intention to invoke his Fifth Amendment privilege and engaged in substantial hand-wringing over what he characterized as Byrne and or counsel's intention to probe Coomer's participation in an international conspiracy to interfere with the 2020 presidential election of the United States, including working with actors from Venezuela, Serbia, and China. He sought to place all such inquiry off limits, as well as inquiries into criminal conduct such as money laundering or bribery of public officials, access to ballot images, source code changes, post-certification, honest service fraud, misleading municipalities with splash screens, and implementing and distributing versions incapable of counting write-in candidates with no disclosure to state or municipal governments. 6 years I've been fighting. And he goes in there, and I showed up for the deposition in Tampa, Florida. I was there. I have a resounding disgust for people who have stolen the voice of people. And by the way, you know who suffers? The 40% of our community that has never had a voice and never been given an opportunity to get out of the hole they're in. If you get out, you win the lottery. It's because you're LeBron James. That's how you get out. Everyone else, suck it up, slave. Dr. Byrne is privy to the material released by Dominion in the U.S. Dominion v. Patrick Byrne case, as is Dr. Coomer. He has access to it, which means his lawyers have access to it. Byrne's attorney petitioned the D.C. court on Jan 5, 2026 to lift the protection order so that he could comply with Oltmann's defendant's subpoena. January 22, 2026, Dr. Byrne responds to the motion. He asserted the defense of substantial truth and explained he was entitled to inquire into the circumstance that Dr. Coomer was knee-deep in programming, deployment, and otherwise participation in a wide network of Dominion employees, contractors, and manufacturers to allow alteration to tally results in the November 3rd, 2020 election. Don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made effing sure of it. In other words, Dr. Coomer wants the court to deny Dr. Byrne the opportunity to obtain evidence which provides in the statement in the deep rig the implication of the statements are true. You should write a book, Joe. No, I'm not going to write a book. Dr. Byrne explains that evidence he currently possesses to establish Dr. Coomer's involvement with former Venezuelan election officials, some of which now are under indictment in the U.S., and the history of Dominion's purchase of Smartmatic, also under indictment, and the subsidiary Sequoia voting systems. Dr. Byrne also provided documentation establishing Eric Coomer's shared patents with former Sequoia employees and Serbian engineer tied to Huawei. According to Byrne's exposition of the materials produced by Dominion in the D.C. case, they established that Eric Coomer was a major participant and coordinated with others at Dominion, which the discovery documents and testimony would be utilized by Dr. Byrne to his truth defense that the statements made in the deep rig were in fact true. On January 23rd, 2026, Dr. Byrne filed an addendum to his response in which he set forth certain admissions made by Dr. Coomer in response to discovery requests. As part of his job responsibilities and marketing activities, Eric Coomer previously met with individuals of foreign countries to discuss Dominion equipment. Eric Coomer discussed vote adjudication software with internal Dominion employees he understood to be from foreign countries. Eric Coomer discussed election system code with internal Dominion employees he understood to be from foreign countries. Eric discussed programming at a code-based level with internal Dominion employees he understood to be from foreign countries. Serbian employees had the ability to connect to Dominion equipment in Dominion's Denver office to troubleshoot technical issues, clarifying he was distinct from remote access to Dominion equipment fielded in customer jurisdictions. If you can change it in the code, you can change it in the systems. It's called an update. Matter of fact, that is what he was the person in that article in Georgia. He made an update to 4 precincts in Georgia and said it was just nothing to see here. No, they're there. That I saw on November 6th up elk hunting with my friends in Coachella, Colorado, that led me to dig into Dr. Eric Coomer. During Dr. Coomer's deposition on Jan 26, 2026, he made the following admissions in direct contradiction to his testimony in Georgia's grand jury proceedings, in which he testified, "I'm going to ask you, did you rig the election campaign? No, I didn't, nor would I ever have been able to." What does that mean? I'm not able to. I don't have the access. I don't have the ability to explain any of this vulnerabilities, and it's not me. I mean, counties, states run elections. Dominion just builds the hardware and provides the software. We do not run elections, so I don't have, hold on, next page. And nor do I ever have the technical capabilities to be able to, compromise all of the security and processes that are in place that would be needed to affect an election. If you're the special master in this case, you should dismiss it. If you're the lawyer, if you're the judge in this case, and there is a summary judgment pending, you should go ahead and grant the summary judgment, dismiss this case, and let people get on with their lives and be able to sue them for what they have done to our lives and for the lives of so many. And then you force Eric Coomer and his lawyers who knowingly committed fraud and perjury, you make sure they are disbarred, you make sure that they are charged, and you make sure that they return every dollar to the people that they have taken from. Clay Clark, give him his money back. Newsmax, give him their money back. AON, give him his money back. Call the Herrings and give them their money back. Being kicked off of all the networks and the cable networks, you put them back on and you give them back the money that they deserve for having platforms that spoke the truth during the 2020 election. That's what you do. He admitted so much more, guys. So much more. You'd say, Joe, you're really upset. Wouldn't you be? Wouldn't you be? And if you're out there right now and you don't share this and you're just listening to me, I don't know what to say to you. You should be hitting the share button. I fought for 6 years. 6 years I fought. I remember sitting with Lara Logan and I'm like, and somebody called Lara Logan and said, stay away from Joe Oltmann. I'm thinking to myself, yeah, stay away from the guy that has served for 18 years his community honorably. Yeah, that's the guy to stay away from. And Laura's like, don't worry about it, Joe. That's why I knew you were over the target. I'm going way longer than I should. You guys want to cut me off? Should I be done? In the Jan 27, 2026 deposition in Tampa, Florida, Coomer made a number of admissions, including he admitted the deposition he had access to the tally. He had accessed it live, and he printed it during the 2020 presidential election and primary. He admitted that foreign and domestic contractors could remote access Dominion machines. He admitted that Serbian contractors could have accessed and altered the adjudication system. He admitted that he contacted with Serbian contractors prior to the 2020 election. He stated he did not know whether foreign contractors could remote access Dominion machines during the 2020 election. He was the chief of Dominion's security team. He admitted to having provided high-level guidance for certain implementation of the voting systems, which covered multiple states. He admitted to having the chief software architect for, he admitted to have been the chief software architect for Sequoia voting systems, later acquired by Smartmatic. Excuse me, it was not later, it was acquired by Smartmatic, and in turn Dominion. He admitted to writing source code for that system. He admitted that domestic and foreign programmers and personnel that access the Dominion source code repositories. He admitted to having remote access in the Dominion management system and remote desktops at the election centers via VPN. He admitted to having access to internal testing environments, system logs, and audit logs. He admitted to having monitored the results of the Chicago-Cook County election in real time on November 3rd, 2020, being able to see the vote tallies prior to certification. He admitted when the trusted build is installed, it would wipe out the data from the prior election, which is why Tina is in prison. He admitted the Venezuelan nationals were provided support and the Cook County elections had access to voting systems. He asked about his offshore bank accounts, which he denied owning. He was instructed by his counsel not to answer for reasons of safety, but counsel indicated that he in fact has such accounts. Like Dr. Byrne, Mr. Oltmann and the extension, the Oltmann defendants intend to present the defense of substantial truth at trial. They intend to prove that contrary to the advertment is a Second Amendment amended complaint in all prior versions to his deposition and trial testimony, and his verified discovery response, Eric Coomer did in fact have the motive, methods, opportunity, means, intention, and ability to interfere in the 2020 presidential election. That he was part of a common Smartmatic Sequoia Dominion International network, which was largely unchanged for 2 decades, and Eric Coomer was a leader and central player in the network, and that Joseph Oltmann reasonably believed he had interfered in the 2020 election. Dr. Burns County advised the court in the Middle District of Florida that Dominion production contained evidence of the network of individuals carrying out the same acts of manipulation, deletion, and remote access, but that counsel could not provide greater detail without violating the protective order. The Oltmann defendants are entitled to discovery evidence they require in order to prove their defense. Eric Coomer and the joint defense partner Dominion Voting Systems and affiliates are not entitled to hide the critical evidence from them, regardless of how compromising it is. They sued Oltmann. They cannot continue to hide the truth, and in no proceeding with any semblance of fairness would a court permit them to. I'd say that would be a wrap. Would it? That should be a wrap, right? Tell me it should be a wrap. People say, you know what, Joe, you're way too strong. You're way too, how are you going to be governor? How are you going to? I got people that work for me for 14 years. Not only am I fair, not only am I ethical, am I moral, do I do things? And have I had fall downs in my life? Yeah, my brother died, I did. I sold drugs when I was 16. Yeah, I was a playboy. Yes, I'm an imperfect man. But I'm going to tell you something else. Being an example for my kids, having to protect my wife, having to have an AR-15 next to my bed, proving to everyone that I am well armed at all times because of the death threats that have been put against me, while these people have gotten away with and get to eat ice cream and take money from people and then have to guilt me and say, look what you caused. You caused this pain on these people. No, I didn't cause pain on those people. They did. I just refuse to back down to the liars. I have one more document for you. Before I put that up, I want to put up the case for the Christopher Gregory case. Just the front part that shows who the people are that were charged. Can we put that up? There's a name in there. And its name, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 down. It's David Beller. David Beller is a defendant in the fraud case against Jared Polis, Phil Weiser, Melissa Hart, Monica Marquez, Judge Boatwright, William Hood, Richard Gabriel, Maria Birkenkotter. I could keep going. David Beller, take that down, please. Now put up this post. David Beller, let me read this to you. Soon after all this stuff came out, there was a supplement made that said, you know what, Joe's now just putting it all out there. Oh my gosh, we have to cut this out of the court. We can't let people see it. This is going to make the special master look bad. It's going to make the judge look bad. It's going to tie into the corruption that continually happens in the state of Colorado judiciary, who, by the way, is barred from being held accountable. You want to know why? I'll tell you why. Because they have immunity. But I'm not sure they do now. See, I think President Trump's going to do what he has. And look, you could say that I'm like, so count me as a preacher. I get loud. I'm actually not angry. I have righteous anger. I'm good. Patrick, are you there? Am I not good? When I get out of here, do I typically have a smile on my face? Always. Because I got Jesus for one, and number two, frankly, we got him by the short hairs. David Pretty Boy Beller is a traitor. I don't know if that's true. That was a comment in there. I'll reserve judgment for it, but I do know that he is a part of the corruption inside of the state of Colorado that has reached out and stolen from people what is not theirs to take. The state of Colorado is absolutely 100% compromised in every level, and they all need to go. And the billions of dollars that are given to NGOs that are then funneled down to no-show jobs so they can steal money and $1.6 billion to homeless people, $64,000 per person. And they have nothing to show for it, not even a building. You want to know why? Because they stole it. They stole the money. Here's an update. David Beller, the Coomer attorney that is also the defendant in the massive Christopher Gregory fraud, embezzlement, and bribery case with Polis, Weiser, and over 40 others. I have a right and an obligation to shed light on the rotted nature of this case in front of a judge that has ignored the facts with the special master who has acted inappropriately and unethically to stand on the scales of justice in favor of Eric Coomer. Here's a supplement against asking the court to hide from the public the facts of the case related to Eric Coomer. It is again the same tactics used to stop you from seeing the fraud in the election systems that were used to steal your voice and the sovereignty of our nation. Here is a supplemental. I will share everything in the case from this point on. They will not hide the criminality, and I am not interested in these trash heaps continuing to gaslight and lie with impunity. I have been in this fight for over 5 years. The evidence is clear. Eric Coomer lied. Eric Coomer, however hyperbolic in his comments, bragged about stealing the election from Trump. And more importantly, Dominion Voting Systems has in fact been proven to be a fraudulent company who's perpetuated fraud across the entire country, as well as the SNS, Smartmatic, and others. Check this filing and thread below for access pages. Again, I will put a link in here for you to review as well. This is all on my X post. It's all on Facebook. And he goes through and says, go ahead and pull it up. Just go through the pages real quick. Here's page 1. Go to page 2. You guys can read all about this. And it basically says that on this morning, on February 17th, in the morning hours, or on February 16th, in the morning hours, Mr. Oltmann put up this post about Eric Coomer. I just read it to you. On February 17th, Mr. Oltmann put up this post. Go ahead, go to the next page. Go to the next page. And there it is. There's the post that I just read to you. Go to the next page. There's the other post. Which, by the way, I made it available to you. You have access to it. Go there. You have access to read the entire document that my attorney filed. Charlie Kane, if I were you, I'd rethink your career path. David Beller, sorry, brother. I already know all your connections. I know the connections to people that are really bad. And by the way, you probably should have done your homework on me. Brad Clower, yeah, you too. You lied with impunity. You continued to lie. You continued to try and hide people and tell them to hide from subpoenas. You lied. You guys lied. Eric, you lied. You're going to jail. You're going to prison. I truly believe that President Trump is not going to put his family through another season of what he went through during the Biden administration. He is not going to let evil prevail, and neither is someone like Elon Musk. He's not going to let it happen either. I certainly am not. And if you want to know what 6 years has done to me, it's made me older. If you want to know why I'm running for governor, I'm running for governor for the poorest among us, the people that have never had a voice, and for the people that should have had a voice that had it stolen by stolen elections at every level in the state of Colorado and around the country. And I cannot be bought. I can't be bought. You can't take anything from me that I wasn't willing to give up to begin with. I love my country. And I love people for the oddest of reasons. I don't know why I love people like Rich. I love that guy. That was the easiest conversation I've ever had. I regularly text with people that are in the comments and have been for years. And yeah, I'm an asshole. Yeah. No question. And why am I an asshole? Because I don't believe that you get to take from people what was never yours to take, and that we should have accountability. We should be accountable, and we should feel like in our country we don't have to run away from aspects of our community that should be safe for our children. The education system should be safe for our children. Homeless people should feel safe. We should find a way to rehabilitate them. The prison system should have a place of forgiveness and giving them a path forward where they can learn a trade. It doesn't exist. Children inside of the schools should learn to read and write. Parents of illegals should not be given free health care and free child care, while parents that are Americans are told to abort your babies. There should be no grooming centers. There should be no pride flags in schools. It shouldn't happen. Farmers should not have to beg the government to use a certain seed or have the government put their finger over top of them and says, listen, slave, you will put whatever seed we tell you to put in the ground. And we should not be able to prioritize families and put them lower on the scale than we do gray wolves and wolverines. I personally think that we've got to get to a place where we hand back the power to the people. President Trump was doing that. He's been doing that. Now the government is at a war with itself. And the excuses being made by Pam Bondi and others they're stark reminders that we have claws in us that we need to shed. And we need a Julius Caesar moment. We need people inside of our community to rise up and take control of this monster that's been created inside of our states. There should be no property tax. There should be no tollways. We should not have a $40 billion budget where we can't account for nearly 2/3 of it. You want to know what I think? That's what I think. That's all I got today. I have so much respect for the people out there like Patrick Byrne that have been fighting. I have utmost care for and support for President Trump specifically, because he actually can't get animated like I do. He's the president. I know he does behind closed doors. I know he's a strong man. You know how I know? Because they shot him in the ear. And he was like, whatever, fight, fight, fight. He didn't cower like a punk. He wanted to shoe. I mean, look, you want to talk about a man that literally has felt the long arm, that is not as afraid of his mortality, but also recognizes the things he's done in his life he's probably not proud of? That's President Trump. Scott Bottom's a good man, by the way. I saw him up there. Scott hasn't been the same sort of foxhole that Joe Oltmann has been fighting from. That's true, but I will tell you, Scott's a good man. He's an admirable, good man. And he does fight well. All right. God bless you, Susan Rice, the good Susan Rice. I hope to one day be able to sit here in front of you and say, I'm signing off. Because I said that job well done. There's so many people that have been in this fight. David Clements has been in this fight. I've been supported by Kathy Cleary. She gives me a hug every time I go to an event. She lost her sister and her nephew. She takes care of her brother-in-law. I've had all you. I've had my team, Damon and Patrick. I've had Lynn, my assistant, for over 10 years, who knew me long before any of this and still stuck around to be my eyes and ears and take care of things that I needed. I got my business partner of 14 years, Chris. Never once wavered. That's not true. He wavered for a minute when they came in and said that I was an insurrectionist. Wouldn't talk to me for like 6 hours. Tig Tigan stood next to me for 6 years. My daughter. God. My wife. My son. My friend of 15 years, Frank. Todd, who I've known all the way through the Mike Lindell era. I feel like I'm naming names now. Yes, because I am. My lawyers, Ingrid and Andrea. The other lawyers that believed in me, Chris, that represented Mike Lindell. Patrick Byrne, who sent me that text message saying, you don't worry about it, we got him. 3 years ago. Michelle Malkin, who first aired me, that had to recalibrate her entire life as a result of that story. I feel so bad for Michelle because she is amazing. Apollo Pappas, the man that protected me for 18 months and never stopped protecting me after that. Who, no matter what, showed up, never told me I was making the wrong decision even when he knew I was. The people in this chat, you're right, you've been there since the beginning, many of you. Gammy Sparkles. My brotherhood that we've been building, my business partner, Josh, my friend Josh, who is my brother that now lives in Florida. I could go on for a long time about the amazing people that I've met in all this. Ryan, my ride or die brother that I met in 2020. His family, who's become my family. Yeah. All right, I'm done reminiscing. Can we pray it out? No. Apollo didn't break up with me. Apollo's learning stuff. He's learning stuff. His mom, by the way, fearless warrior, who was in this fight with the school board up in Michigan. I can talk about Stephanie Lambert, Matt DePerno, Ben Cotton, Jeff Lindbergh, Draza Smith, Sean Smith, Ed Solomon, Jim Penrose. And there are so many people that I want to say thank you to. Even the ones that lied about me and had to come around. Laura Logan, she's spectacular. What a voice. Brad, Mark, Pam and Mark, man, amazing people from Tennessee. I just can't. I couldn't have made it through 6 years without those people. I couldn't have. Mark Cook. Mark Cook is a good man. He's a great man. You see, it took a village. It took a village. There's so many more people I want to say thank you to. Yeah. But I'll be here all day. I'd be here all day. There's so many people. From Michigan to New Hampshire to Florida to Texas to Georgia. Oh my gosh. Voter GA. The people over there. Oh my gosh. The people that I haven't even mentioned. Coy Griffin, Cowboys for Trump. Can you imagine how many people? I would be here all day. I should do it. They got to find a way. There's so many people. And I come back to Melania Trump for standing next to President Trump. Even people that, again, have ghosted me. Michael Seifert over at Public Square, even though I support him, own a bunch of his shares, he kind of ghosted me. There's a bunch of people that ghosted me. You got Chris over at Rumble, Dan Bongino, you got other guys that I thought, they at least kept me going for a bit. Lone Raccoon, yeah. Jeff. And let me just, I knew I would get to this one, but I'm going to pray about that particular person in this prayer. So let's pray it out. Father God, thank you. But God, thank you for these people that we just talked about. Thank you for the people that are listening. Thank you for President Trump. Thank you for even Mike Lindell. But thank you, Father, for Tina Peters. The ultimate sacrifice of being able to go to jail, go to prison, while standing up for what's right and what's true, while people gaslight and lie and cheat and steal, was never theirs to take. The ultimate sacrifice, and to do so with such conviction and such grace. That is Tina Peters. A woman that is a Gold Star mom that you know more about than any of us. We're grateful for Tina Peters. We're grateful for her sacrifice, but we're also grateful for her voice that she continues to have. We're grateful for her lawyers that continue to represent her. We're grateful for Peter Tickton. But Father, we are so grateful for Tina. And so I would just make this prayer about Tina. Please guide her and protect her. Please lift the burden off her shoulders. Please give her the eyes to see and the mouth to speak about the things that she's experienced and seen inside of the prison system. And Father, I just ask you to release her from where she is. I ask you to give her the ability to step out of the prison, to be released. And the people that have done bad things in this state, that collectively have operated to do bad things for the people in this country, that they pay the price, the consequence for what they've done. And we know vengeance belongs to you, Father, but we just ask you to give us the ability to push through. We know that we still have an uphill battle to clean the weeds and get us back on track, Father, but we just ask you to give us the ability to stand in the gap and do what's necessary while we protect and look after those people that are the magistrates, the greater magistrates that are standing in our stead, like President Trump, Bobby Kennedy, Tulsi Gabbard, and so many others. We're grateful for Rich, Father. We're grateful for his stand. We know that he loves you. And we're grateful for the people that have had enough grace to listen to his story and the sacrifices he's willing to make sure that we have a better society here in Colorado. Help us, Father, that we may have that grace and may stand side by side. Democrat, Republican, Independent, may do the right thing collectively in order to get us across this finish line. I ask these things, Father, humbly, in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Yeah. Hey, you guys have a great one. I know I went a really long time today. Thanks for being with me. I got to, I think, 2 good shows out of it. And I'm grateful, super grateful for the opportunity to be here with you today and to have a voice. Although I don't still have a voice. And yeah, God bless you. We'll see you soon.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Coomer's lies, Dominion's deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding truth from corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Martin, Tina Peters break the chains that bind her tight, hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night. Restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us voting true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong. Opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam. Reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Coomer's fraud dominions, rig design, expose the stolen votes, cross a dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed for the have-nots. Rising truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite. Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away. Shrink the bloated state, let the people have the say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call. Truth and freedom rising, watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Whoa, 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 whoa. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Governor Oltmann, freedom forever, Colorado, rise. Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann, Governor Oltmann. Rise up untamed, in the heart of the fight where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave